The world once belonged to a game called Deus Ex Machina, Ragnarok or Demrock for short. It was an instant global hit, winning Game of the Year and setting new records for the VR market. At its peak, over 100 million people were logged in simultaneously, fighting for glory in a world of monsters and magic. But even the biggest legends eventually fade. Over the years, the numbers started to drop as people moved on to newer things. Now, the service is finally coming to an end. A few old-timers have gathered around a campfire for one last goodbye. A system message pops up, announcing that the server will shut down for good in just 30 minutes. Kaiser, the top-ranked player in all of Demrock, stares into the night. Even as the number one, he looks pretty calm about the whole thing. The fifth-ranked player, a massive guy named Purpletaste, grumbles about the game being a piece of junk anyway. He says he wanted it to fail, but seeing it actually happen feels different. Sword Emperor, the rank 4 player with a long ponytail, sighs. He enjoyed it, but he can't figure out why such a great game is dying. Keikaku Chicken, a woman in a gold mask, chimes in from the side. She's not exactly helping the mood. She mutters about Purpletaste's mask and his annoying way of talking. Purpletaste snaps back, ready to throw hands right then and there. Sword Emperor tells them to knock it off, while Kaiser just watches them bicker one last time. Purpletaste looks over at the group's silent leader. Kaiser admits that seeing it all end is a little disappointing. Purpletaste laughs. Out of everyone, Kaiser was the one who studied the game's mechanics like his life depended on it. He mentions how watching Kaiser fight was like seeing a god at work. Pure skill, zero luck. Kaiser's combat moves were legendary, pulling off things that should have been impossible. Keikaku Chicken points out that the gods are fair, though, because Kaiser has the absolute worst luck of anyone she's ever seen. Purpletaste agrees. It's insane that a guy without a single legendary skill managed to hit rank 1. If he actually had good luck, the rest of them wouldn't even be in his league. The girl remembered the times Kaiser failed 10 enhancements in a row, screaming that the whole world was conspiring against him. The giant guy cracks up, calling Kaiser the most unlucky bastard of the bunch. The whole group shares a laugh around the fire. It's a rare moment of peace before the end. Sword Emperor smiles, admitting Kaiser's luck really was bottom tier. The final warning bell rings. The service is terminating exactly as scheduled. A message flashes across their screens, thanking them for being part of the journey until the very last second. Purpletaste's avatar begins to dissolve into blue light. He tells everyone they worked hard and says his goodbye. Keikaku Chicken and Sword Emperor fade out next, hoping to see each other in some other god-tier game in the future. Kaiser stands alone in the quiet forest. It really is over now. The campfire crackles one last time before his own form starts to break apart. In a flash of light, the number 1 player vanishes from the world of Demrock. Service termination complete. The legendary era has officially closed. Back in the real world, a sleek VR headset sits silent on a desk. The lights on it go dark. 2 years pass by. The city continues to grow, and new trends have taken over the gaming market. A green bus rolls down a busy street, filled with people heading home. Inside, 2 high schoolers are glued to a phone screen, watching a video of some high-level gameplay. One of them can't believe the control he's seeing. The video shows a player taking down a massive demon lord single-handedly. It's the kind of stuff only the elite can pull off. They talk about a ranker named Annihilation from the Execution Guild, saying he's definitely the best out there right now. The other kid is a huge fan of the Empress, loving her solo playstyle. He calls her a proud wolf of the gaming world. They wonder if any player could actually beat those two. One of them ponders for a second. Wait, isn't there one guy? He brings up Kaiser, the rank 1 player from the old Demrock days. But ever since that game ended, the guy just disappeared. They both wonder what happened to him and what he could be doing now. It's like he just vanished off the face of the earth. Sitting just a few seats away is a guy in a military uniform, tilting his cap and smiling. 2 years after the end of Demrock, Kang Do-yeon is finally back. A new legend has emerged to take Demrock's place, a game called God of Savior. Everyone just calls it GOTS, and its user base is already massive. It promises infinite freedom, with a huge variety of races and classes to choose from. But a familiar face is about to enter the fray. Kang Do-yeon, the man who used to be rank 1 back in Demrock, has finally finished his military service. He heads straight back home after his discharge. Do-yeon bursts through the door, immediately asking where his gaming capsule is. His sister is shocked to see him back so soon. She can't believe he's already looking to game the second he steps inside. His mom yells from the other room, complaining that kids these days only care about their parents when they're bobbies. Do-yeon doesn't care about the nagging. He's got his eyes on the prize. There it is, A VR capsule, just like the ones he's been seeing on TV for the last 18 months. He hugs the machine, savoring the moment. This is what all those months of hard-earned military pay were for. He runs his hand along the sleek curves, admiring the build quality. The capsule door slides open, inviting him in. Even though it's second-hand, the interior is surprisingly comfortable. He settles into the seat and pulls down the headset, ready to jump back into the virtual world. The system begins scanning his retina to initialize the login. It verifies his ID card and starts the synchronization process. Sync complete. He's officially entered the world of GOTS. A bright light flashes as the game welcomes him to the paradise of adventure. He finds himself in a grand hall, prompted to create his new character. He takes a look at his default form. It's pretty basic, but it'll do for now. He rubs his short hair, thinking he still looks a bit too much like a soldier. The menu offers a ton of customization options, but he's too eager to play. He just picks a standard look and moves on. Next up is the nickname. He doesn't even have to think twice about it. A smirk plays on his lips as he types in his old name, Kaiser. Character creation is a success. The system welcomes Kaiser back to the world of rankers. He's assigned a hashtag and immediately warped to the tutorial zone. He lands in the middle of a burning fortress. The system calls it the tragic battlefield of Arlen Castle. He's impressed by how real everything feels. This is definitely a step up from Demrock. A weapon selection screen pops up, asking him to pick his starting gear. The options are all pretty basic. Daggers, whips, and standard blades. Nothing fancy for a beginner. He reaches for a simple sword, deciding to stick with what he knows best. He's been a swordsman since the very beginning, so why change a winning formula? A loud shout echoes through the courtyard. Kaiser looks over to see someone running his way. A knight in shining armor rushes toward him, looking desperate. It's Charlie, the knight captain. He demands to know what a mercenary is doing standing around while the castle is under attack. Before Kaiser can even answer, Charlie grabs his arm and starts pulling him along. A system message pops up, informing him that he's now in a party with the captain. Charlie yells that the other mercenaries are already fighting. They sprint through the flaming corridors of the castle, heading straight for the front lines. Kaiser skids to a halt as they reach the battlefield. The situation is even worse than it looked. Bodies are everywhere. The castle guards are being slaughtered by a pack of vicious beastmen. Charlie grits his teeth, realizing the enemy has joined forces with the monsters. He suspects they've made a pact with something truly terrifying. Charlie screams at Kaiser to move. If they don't stop the invaders now, that thing will descend upon them all. He points the way, urging them to hurry through the side passage to save time. Kaiser doesn't hesitate, following the captain through the heavy doors. Suddenly, an arrow cuts through the air with a deadly whistle. A volley of arrows thuds into the stone floor. They've been spotted. Snarling beastmen emerge from the gloom, their eyes glowing with bloodlust. Charlie curses. The monsters have already swarmed this far into the castle. He prepares to fight his way through. But suddenly, a blur cut him off. It was Kaiser. Without waiting for the NPC to finish his long-winded speech, Kaiser's hands and feet were already itching for a fight, and he charged straight into the heat of the action. A massive beastman roars, leaping from the shadows with a heavy axe. The creature swings with enough force to shatter stone, aiming straight for Kaiser. But Kaiser's eyes have already sharpened. His world slows down as he enters a state of total focus. Charlie shouts a desperate warning, thinking the young mercenary is done for. With a slight tilt of his body, Kaiser dodges the heavy strike by a hair's breadth. The axe smashes into the ground, sending dust and debris flying, but Kaiser is already moving. The beastman freezes in shock, its prey having vanished from its line of sight. Kaiser's hand finds his hilt. It's time to show them why he was a legend. In a flash of blue light, he draws his sword and carves through the monster in one fluid motion. He doesn't stop. He's a blur of steel and speed, his glowing eyes tracking every enemy movement. He tears through the pack of beastmen like a whirlwind, leaving only splatters of blood in his wake. The remaining monsters are paralyzed by fear, unable to process the speed of this human. Another beastman tries to overwhelm him with a desperate overhead strike. Kaiser easily dodged the downward strike with a simple sidestep. Kaiser didn't give his opponent a chance to recover. Using the momentum from his spin, he delivered a devastating, high-powered knee strike. A high kick to the face sends the monster crashing backward, its jaw shattered. The beastman collapses, its glowing eyes fatting as it struggles to understand its defeat. The rest of the squad is horrified. They realize too late they've picked a fight with a monster in human skin. They try to scramble away, their snarls turning into whimpers of terror. Kaiser ends it with one final spinning strike, a perfect circle of light that cuts down every remaining foe. He lands softly, the battle over in just a matter of seconds. He looks back at the bodies littering the corridor. It was almost too easy. He flicks the blood from his blade, He'd been worried about being rusty, but he's satisfied with the result. He admits he was concerned since it had been a while, but it feels surprisingly natural. In fact, his body feels even lighter and more responsive than it did in Demrock. Charlie is completely awestruck. He's never seen an unknown mercenary handle 5 monsters with such ease. A system message pings. Charlie is deeply impressed, and his favorability toward Kaiser is skyrocketing. Kaiser wonders to himself if the standards for heroism in this world are just a little too low. Charlie can only think that this man might be a literal hero, stepped out of a legend. The system notifications keep coming. Charlie's favorability has reached the absolute maximum. Charlie now trusts him implicitly. He would believe Kaiser's word over anyone else's. A special title pops up, Affection Max from the start. Kaiser's achieved something rare. It's a rare grade title for maxing out an NPC's affection during the tutorial. It even gives him a nice stat boost. Kaiser smiles. This little bonus will definitely come in handy later. Charlie laughs heartily, thanking Kaiser for making his job 1,000 times easier. Charlie points ahead, stating that if they can just eliminate the Dark Sorcerer inside, they'll secure a total victory for Arlen Castle. Purple energy begins to crackle violently through the air. Charlie looks up in horror, realizing the summoning ritual has already begun. Grotesque monsters begin to crawl out from the dark rifts, their red eyes filled with murderous intent. High-pitched screeches echo through the hall. Charlie draws his sword, shouting that he'll hold back the monsters here. He tells Kaiser to go on ahead and stop the summoner. Charlie looks at Kaiser with complete trust, a golden aura surrounding him. He believes Kaiser is the only one who can finish this. He offers a final blessing, his voice booming with the authority of a captain as he sends Kaiser toward the final confrontation. Charlie charges into the fray with a roar, his armor glowing as he takes on the horde alone to clear a path. Kaiser is momentarily stunned. This isn't how things were supposed to go. He remembers the tutorial very differently. He pulls up a mental image of a walkthrough video he saw. In the normal tutorial, Charlie was always the one to enter the final room first. The guide said the tutorial could change based on user actions, but Kaiser hadn't expected it to diverge this much from his very first play. He steps toward the large, ornate doors. Purple lightning arcs across the frame, sealing it shut behind him. Kaiser stands alone before the massive portal, his sword drawn. The air is thick with dark magic, vibrating with an ominous hum. System windows begin to appear, flickering into existence. They warn him that only one person can enter, and the consequences of failure are dire. The game asks if he would like to enter. Kaiser is shocked. System messages like this aren't supposed to appear in the standard tutorial. His eyes widen in realization. This isn't just a deviation, this is a hidden piece, a secret event triggered by his exceptional performance. He recalls that hidden pieces are mechanics deliberately tucked away by developers, only activated under extremely specific conditions. The rewards for completing a hidden piece are legendary. They can give a player a massive advantage from the very beginning. Kaiser smirks. There's no reason to turn down an opportunity this valuable, no matter how dangerous it might be. He selects yes. Light envelops him as he enters the room. Inside, he finds a dark sorcerer screaming in agony, his own summon having turned against him. The sorcerer is being torn apart by a shadowy, demonic silhouette. His desperate cries fill the chamber as his life is extinguished. The silhouette begins to take a solid, terrifying shape. Kaiser watches closely, his grip on his sword tightening. Massive scales and wings unfurl as the creature roars, a sound that vibrates in Kaiser's very chest. This is far beyond a normal tutorial boss. A massive, red-eyed head emerges from the shadows. The sheer pressure of its presence would crush a normal new player. The creature is finally revealed, the restrained, iron-blooded demonic dragon. Kaiser stares up at the Titan, ready for the real game to begin. God of Savior took a lot of inspiration from the old legendary game, Demlock, specifically the tier system, ranking everything from normal all the way up to legendary status. It's a rigid hierarchy that defines the power levels of this entire world. Naturally, that system applies to monsters too, but the ones at the very top are in a league of their own. They call them named bosses, monsters so rare and powerful that they carry unique titles. Like this massive beast, the bound, iron-blooded demonic dragon. The beast lets out a deafening, bone-chilling roar. It's pure intimidation, shaking the foundations of the entire room. The dragon screams directly into Kaiser's face, trying to break his spirit. Systems alert him immediately. He's been hit by the overwhelming pressure of a legendary presence. His stats take a massive nosedive, with his speed, attack, and defense all plummeting. Kaiser clenches his teeth, annoyed that the developers would pull something this dirty right in the tutorial. He notices the heavy chains holding the dragon back, sealing away most of its true power. But even sealed, he knows a single hit from that massive front paw would be instant death. Still, he's been in plenty of tight spots like this during his time as a top ranker in Demlock. He remembers those impossible fights where death was always just one tiny mistake away. For someone with his skills, there was only ever one real choice: win or die trying. His eyes flare with a cold, absolute focus. The dragon lunges forward, swiping its jagged claws through the air. Kaiser pivots, his boots barely scraping the floor as he narrowly avoids the strike. He counters instantly, his blade sending sparks flying as it grinds against the dragon's scales. The beast snaps its jaws at him, but he's already shifted his weight for the next move. He delivers a precise slash, desperately searching for a weak point in its armor. He keeps his distance, his eyes tracking every twitch of the monster's muscles. Another massive clash fills the room with light as he barely parries a blow. He leaps into the air, putting every ounce of strength into a heavy downward swing. He doesn't blink, fully immersed in the rhythm of the life-and-death struggle. After 2 perfect strikes, he realizes he's only dealt 120 damage to a health pool of nearly 1,000,000. Kaiser smirks through the sweat. This difficulty is exactly as insane as the community said it would be. On the forums, players are already calling it a boss that wasn't meant to be beaten by human players. Some find the dragon too creepy to even look at, let alone fight. They're debating if it's even possible to win, since even the top rankers have failed here. Most assume the boss taking damage is just a bit of realism, but Kaiser isn't stopping. Suddenly, the boss's title changes to demonic dragon species of sloth, and the chat goes wild. People are screaming about bugs and glitches, unable to believe someone is actually winning. They're losing their minds trying to figure out who this level 1 player could possibly be. A blinding pillar of blue energy strikes down, piercing the dragon's very core. The monster shrieks in genuine, agonizing pain for the first time in the fight. A final massive shockwave tears through the beast's body, ending its reign. System alerts confirm the impossible victory. The legendary named boss has been defeated. Kaiser is officially the first person to ever slay a legendary boss in the tutorial. He leans on his sword, panting and covered in blood, barely able to believe he actually pulled it off. Kaiser looks at the spot where the dragon stood, calling it a stubborn bastard. He notes that it's the first time he's managed something like this. It hits him that if he struggled this much, the other top rankers probably couldn't beat it either. On the community boards, players are raging at the developers for making an impossible boss. Kaiser just smirks, wondering how those old rivals of his are doing. A notification pops up. He's earned the title First Slayer and a bunch of new traits. The traits start stacking up: Weapon Master, Hidden Dragon, Slayer, and Hero. He even unlocks the Overcome trait after meeting some extreme conditions. Then comes the big one, a unique trait called Eye of Truth. Kaiser can't believe his luck. Usually, players are lucky to walk away from the tutorial with just a single trait. Traits are a core part of the system in God of Savior, giving players specialized boosts. They range from exploration-focused guides to combat-oriented sword masters. The better your achievements, the higher the tier of the trait you're granted. He scrolls through abilities like location tracking and status effect immunity. He pauses on the most interesting one. The Eye of Truth is a unique tier trait that lets him see through hidden things. The other traits he got are great, but they aren't unique. Other players might have one of those, but none of them will have all of them at once. The Eye of Truth is different. It's literally the only one of its kind in the entire game world. Between the unique trait and the 5 others, Kaiser feels like he just hit the jackpot. The legendary First Slayer title is even more broken, giving massive damage buffs against bosses. Kaiser is practically glowing. He's never had luck like this before. For a guy who used to have the worst luck in the world, this feels incredibly sweet. But then, he notices someone else is still in the room. Charlie, the Knight Commander, is still standing, leaning heavily on his sword. The knight is battered and breathing hard, clearly in shock. Kaiser walks over, his own boots clicking against the bloody floor. Kaiser wonders what's on the knight's mind. Charlie asks if Kaiser truly slew the beast that let out such a terrifying roar. He's stunned that Kaiser doesn't have a single scratch on him, and demands to know who he is. Kaiser tries to explain, but Charlie cuts him off, saying it doesn't matter where he came from. The knight declares that a hero is born in times of chaos, looking at Kaiser with pure awe. Kaiser just stares back, not quite sure how to handle all the sudden drama. Charlie believes Kaiser will be the ray of light that brings about a great change in the world. The knight drops to one knee, offering his service to the hero before him. A system window pops up. Charlie wishes to pledge his eternal loyalty. If Kaiser accepts, Charlie will become his official subordinate, and he'll get all the benefits. Kaiser is floored. That's a massive upgrade for a tutorial reward. But there's a catch. Charlie is technically a deceased figure from the past, so there are no active benefits. Kaiser remembers that the tutorial is just a recreation of historical events. He tells Charlie to do as he wishes, figuring it's just a formality anyway. He accepts the oath, and Charlie's loyalty is officially recorded in the game's memories. The war known as the Tragedy of Arlen Castle has been rewritten into a victory in Charlie's memories. The system notes that he can now fall asleep in peace, looking forward to a future by Kaiser's side. Kaiser repeats the phrase quietly to himself, watching as the light begins to surround them. A notification informs Kaiser that he will be warped to the Pantheon shortly. The teleportation circle glows with an intense blue energy, pulling Kaiser away from the tutorial zone. Charlie looks up at him one last time, addressing him as his liege. The knight asks where their next destination will be, ready to follow his commander anywhere. Kaiser pauses for a second, considering the question as the world fades around him. "We go where we are needed," Kaiser replies with a small, confident smile. "Because it's a chaotic world," he adds, his voice echoing in the rising light. Charlie is visibly moved by Kaiser's answer, a look of profound relief on his face. The warp count hits 5 seconds as the tutorial room begins to dissolve completely. Charlie quickly reaches out, handing Kaiser a necklace with a glowing pink gem. "My liege, please accept this." Kaiser takes the gift, surprised by the sudden item drop. The countdown hits 2 seconds. Charlie offers a final, grateful smile as he disappears. "Thank you, my liege, please," brings salvation. The transfer is complete, and Kaiser is pulled through the void. He finds himself in a grand, celestial hall. "Welcome to the Pantheon," the system announces. "This is the place where you choose a god and decide your path forward." Standing before a massive, glowing pillar of information, Kaiser prepares to take the next step in his journey as the gods' blessings wait for him. Kang Do-yun finally reaches the Pantheon, a place most players just call the gacha room. It's basically the heart of the game, where your entire future is decided by a single pull. This one room has made more people laugh and cry than anything else in the game. The rules are simple. You serve one god, and that god determines your character class. The gods are split into 3 tiers: Fable, Hero, and Myth. Fable gods are basically legends born from stories passed down through history. Hero gods are former humans who reached divinity through their own deeds. Then you have the big guys, myth gods like Zeus and Odin, who created entire mythologies. Naturally, they're in a league of their own. The sheer number of cards is overwhelming, but Do-yun doesn't expect much given his usual garbage luck. He's about to pick a random card when something catches his eye. A single card is glowing gold. He activates his new skill, Eye of Truth, to see what's actually under the surface. He's stunned. The skill lets him see every hidden secret. If this is for real, he can basically guarantee a top-tier pull every time he tries. He flashes back to his old friends, constantly mocking him for his pathetic luck. He always laughed along, but it actually left a pretty bitter taste in his mouth. But this could be his ticket back to the top of the rankings. He takes a deep breath and tells himself to stay cool. He's going straight for the gold cards and nothing else. He reaches out and grabs it. It's vibrating with pure power. He pulled Tyr, the one-armed sword god, a myth-tier deity. Do-yun can't believe it, a myth god on his first try, but the system rejects him immediately. Apparently his vessel hasn't even been formed. He's frozen in shock. The game is literally telling him no. He's confused. He can't be an apostle. What the hell does that mean? Even Tyr looks completely lost. This situation shouldn't even be possible. He's never heard of anyone running into a vessel problem before. Then he realizes something. Normally, players die to the boss to get a goddess's revelation. But since he killed the damn thing, the goddess never showed up. He skipped the revelation entirely. He pulls up his status screen, but everything looks normal for a level 1. But there's a problem. His class is just adventurer, not an apostle. The special apostle stats he should have are just missing. The system is basically telling him he's stuck as a basic nobody. He's starting to panic. If he can't get a class, he's basically dead weight. Picking more cards is pointless if he doesn't have a vessel to hold the power. He drops to his knees, wondering if he just ruined his entire run before it even started. Deleting his character would mean a 60-day lockout. He doesn't have that kind of time. Wait, he spots something else. Something buried under all the other cards. It's a red card. He's never even heard of a red tier existing in this game. He touches it anyway. He's got nothing left to lose at this point. The system lights up. He's just selected a hidden card and become the Apostle of Cassiar, the forgotten last adventurer. Since he already had an adventurer's vessel, it actually worked. The system finally processes everything. He's officially advanced to the last adventurer class and starts acquiring his new skill. The class description reveals that humanity was once a mighty race of masters in this world. But they crumbled away until only this final lineage remained. A surge of intense red energy erupts around Do-yun as the power of the last adventurer settles into his body. His unique ability is insane. It allows him to use skills from any class without any of the usual restrictions. He realizes he isn't locked into a single path anymore. He can literally use every single skill in the game. With this, he can handpick the most powerful skills and build a custom skill tree that no one else can match. Combining the Eye of Truth to find the best skills with his new freedom to use them all is a terrifying combo. He's well on his way to becoming a true all-master with absolutely zero weaknesses to exploit. With his class advancement complete, the system starts the countdown to transport him to the main world. He smiles, thinking about how this journey is definitely going to be worth the effort this time. As the timer hits 0, he focuses on one goal: reclaiming his title as a top ranker. He arrives under a bright, clear sky in a massive, sprawling city. This is Ard, the city of beginnings, and the place is absolutely bustling with other players. Nearby, a player is having a total meltdown over a bad gacha pull, while his friend tries to tell him there's more to the game than just combat. Do-yun takes in the sights, looking like just another face in the crowd. A couple of guild scouters are scanning the area, but they're clearly disappointed by the lack of talent. They're supposed to be prestigious recruiters, but most players treat them like annoying telemarketers. One of them complains about his monthly quota, worried that his manager is going to breathe down his neck again. They stop and take a look at Do-yun as he walks past. They take one look at his plain gear and assume he's just a broken train wreck of a player. They decide there's no point in wasting their time on him and just walk away with a sigh. Do-yun ignores them and checks out the hero tier necklace Charlie gave him. It grows stronger every time he earns EXP. The item is absolutely cracked. Even the basic passive options are better than most endgame gear. He's practically drowning in how sweet his luck has finally become. Suddenly, a regional quest pops up for everyone in the area: a simple goblin cleanup. It's a standard hunt. Kill 40 goblins for a decent chunk of silver and experience. The nearby players are stoked that they don't even have to wait in line for a quest. Hunter Dante rallies the crowd, telling them he's leaving the goblin massacre in their hands. The city square turns into a chaotic mess of people, shouting for party members to help with the grind. Do-yun watches the madness, realizing that pretty much everyone is teaming up. A guy named Shieldibeast approaches him and asks if he wants to join a group aiming for level 12. The rest of the group is eager for the party bonus, and they figured one more sword wouldn't hurt. He thinks about it for a second and decides they're right. It's the most efficient way to start. Party hunting is basically mandatory in these early levels if you want to keep up with the bonus EXP. He accepts the invite, figuring it's a good way to blend in. The party is officially formed with Shieldibeast as the leader and Do-yun taking his old name, Kaiser. Shieldibeast sees the name and asks if he's some kind of Kaiser superfan. The archer explains that Kaiser was the legendary #1 player from the old Demrock days. Do-yun just scratches his head and acts like he's never even heard the name before. The group gets pumped up, ready to blast through the goblin fields and reach level 12. He gives them a quick cheer as they head out. The fight kicks off immediately, with Shieldibeast slamming into a goblin and stunning it right out of the gate. Shieldibeast lets out a roar as he lands a perfect shield bash, creating an opening for the rest of the party. The archer and mage immediately follow up, raining arrows and magic bolts onto their target. Their coordination pays off as the system notifies them that they've successfully defeated a green goblin. However, more high-pitched screeches erupt from the shadows. This hunt is far from over. A group of goblins comes rushing in from all directions, smelling blood and looking for a fight. Shieldibeast plants his feet and braces his shield, desperately trying to hold the line against the sudden onslaught. His teammates cry out in fear as they realize they're about to be completely overwhelmed. He struggles to keep the grinning monsters at bay, shouting for his allies to take them down quickly. Panic sets in when he realizes his essential defensive skills are still on cooldown, leaving him wide open. Seizing the opportunity, one of the goblins launches itself high into the air to strike from a blind spot. Shieldibeast looks up in sheer terror, realizing he's helpless against the incoming blow from above. A green goblin screeches, baring its teeth at the intruders. A sharp blue slash tears through the grass before the monster can even move. Kaiser carves right through his target, while Shieldibeast holds the line with his heavy shield. Shieldibeast can barely believe how easily the guy is handling this. Yubingkung and Aimforthhead are just as stunned by the display. But Kaiser doesn't slow down, already dashing toward the next group. He slams into the ground, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. 2 more goblins go down instantly under his red-tinted blade. The team is ecstatic, shouting Kaiser's name as he cleans house. The fighter calmly sheathes his weapon, looking like he's barely getting started. Shieldibeast walks up genuinely impressed by the rookie's skill. He's already convinced they're going to breeze through this dungeon. Then he spots something in the shadows and yells out a warning. A whole pack of green goblins starts swarming out from the trees. It's a massive horde, and they look a lot hungrier than the first group. Shieldibius panics, telling everyone they need to run for it immediately. Instead of retreating, Kaiser charges straight into the heart of the mob. The monsters lunge at him from every direction. He leaps high, aiming to drop right into the middle of their ranks. A memory flashes of his past, eyes glowing red as he gripped a massive sword. Back then, even the forest itself seemed to tremble at the scale of his power. A massive shockwave blasts through the clearing. In the flashback, Kei Kukudakaku asks why he always picks fights in such reckless situations. Kaiser just looks back, wondering why the guy thinks he's being reckless. Kei Kukudakaku points out that jumping in headfirst with low HP is basically asking for a death wish. The hero points at the giant monster corpse behind him. He won, didn't he? The big man admits that's true, but warns him that it's still incredibly dangerous. Returning to the present, Kaiser looks at the swarm and admits it might look that way to others. He thinks to himself that there's no reason to take unnecessary risks just to fight. He moves in, a blur of motion before the team can even blink. To him, he's never actually fought recklessly. He dives through the air, perfectly tracking every enemy movement. His old self echoes that he only fights because he's already certain he'll win. The woods go silent for a split second as he makes his move. A notification pops up as he triggers his smash skill. His blade slashed straight through the goblin's chest, nearly tearing its body to pieces. The system confirms the kill and awards him a new pelt. He scans the field, identifying only one poison dart goblin left in the back. He kicks off the ground, moving faster than the monsters can react. His strategy is simple. When dealing with numbers, always take out the ranged units first. He carves through the remaining guards midair, leaving the fat goblin with the blowpipe wide open and completely defenseless. Kaiser is a total whirlwind of steel, carving through the goblins with terrifying precision. In the heat of the battle, his overcome trait activates, letting him push past his physical limits. With his eyes glowing, he readies himself for the next devastating blow. A goblin screeches in pure terror as it watches its buddies get wiped out. But it's too late to run. Kaiser is already past it, his blade leaving a glowing trail in the air. He's moving so fast his feet are barely touching the grass. He stands his ground against the horde, completely unfazed by the numbers. The monsters try to overwhelm him, but he parries every single attack like he's bored. His focus is absolute as he locks onto his next target. He swaps weapons in a heartbeat, driving a dagger straight into a goblin's skull. The combination of his weapon master trait and adventurer class is basically a cheat code, allowing him to use any weapon skill. Even Kaiser is surprised at just how broken this combo really is. He snatched up the goblin's weapon that had just been sent flying. He triggers exploit weakness, landing a brutal critical hit that drops the monster instantly. The clearing is quickly becoming a graveyard of goblins. He swaps to a heavy club and starts swinging for the fences. No matter what weapon he picks up, the system gives him the perfect skill to use it. One goblin gets its head absolutely rattled by a massive overhead swing. The monsters are starting to realize they've picked a fight with a monster of their own. Kaiser doesn't give them a moment's rest, driving a blade into a goblin's throat. Then he follows up with a heavy blow to the next one's neck using the club. He finishes the last few off with a massive swing from his blunt weapon. His masteries are leveling up at an insane rate, since he's using every weapon type at once. Looking at the carnage he caused, he's pretty satisfied with his new setup. He expected to learn the skills, but he didn't think he'd be able to use them this effectively right off the bat. He can't help but grin. This adventurer class is even better than he hoped. Meanwhile, Shieldibius is watching from the sidelines, looking completely shell-shocked. The guy is sweating, wondering if what he just saw was even possible for a newbie. He knows even experienced parties have to work hard to hunt a pack this size. But here's this guy, soloing the entire horde like it was a warm-up. A name from the past pops into his head. Kaiser, the legendary ranker. He wonders if this could actually be the same genius from the old Demrock days. But he quickly shakes the thought. There's no way a legend would be in a party like his. People online have been wondering where the legendary Kaiser went, and most think it's too late for him to catch up now. But Shieldibius can't stop thinking about the coincidence. He looks at his mysterious teammate again, wondering who he really is. He remembers the rumors that the real Kaiser was a bit of a battle-hungry maniac. Seeing the look on Kaiser's face, he starts to worry the guy might be a little unhinged, but Kaiser's expression remains calm and professional. The leftover weapons dissolve into light as the battle finally comes to an end. Kaiser is satisfied with the results. He's officially bypassed the game's equipment restrictions. Now that the coast is clear, It's time to check his status. Kaiser pulls up his status window to check his progress. He's reached level 4 and has some pretty impressive stats for a beginner, not to mention a couple of powerful titles. He's managed to jump 3 levels from just one hunt, efficiency at its finest. He starts allocating his points, focusing on building a solid foundation with his sword skills while boosting his agility and senses. Between his titles like the First Slayer and the rare necklace from Charlie, his overall stats are looking incredibly healthy. Kaiser takes a moment to breathe, looking completely unfazed by the sudden power spike. His teammates, on the other hand, are absolutely losing it. They can't stop praising him for how easily he handled that horde. Shieldebeest and the archer start whispering, wondering if this guy is actually the Kaiser from the legend. The tank admits that after seeing that performance, it's the only thing that makes sense. Even the archer is starting to buy into it, while the man himself just scratches his head in the background, trying to play it cool. Kaiser just gives them an awkward smile, thinking to himself that they're actually right. He is the real deal. The archer is still in shock, asking if Kaiser somehow managed to pull some god-tier mythic trait to deal that kind of damage. He plays it down, chalking it up to his traits and a bit of luck with his titles. The news of him having a title sends them into another frenzy, with Yubingkung already trying to secure a spot on his good side for the future. The group takes a well-deserved break in the lush greenery of the forest. Once their stamina is back up, Shieldebeest is ready to get back to the grind. Feeling bold with Kaiser on their side, the archer suggests taking on an even bigger group of goblins this time. Kaiser just chuckles and goes along with the plan. Everyone is hyped up, ready to dive back into the action now that they know they have a powerhouse in their party. But for a split second, Kaiser's expression shifts as his mind drifts elsewhere. He's suddenly hit with a memory of his old days, walking with a crew of world-class rankers who used to rely on him for everything. He remembers the bickering and the egos, a world away from the earnest newbies he's with now. He stares up at the sky, wondering where all those old faces are now and what they're up to. His introspection is cut short by a sudden, blood-red system alert, an urgent quest to hunt a mutant goblin warrior. Kaiser's gaze sharpens as he reads the name of the target. It seems his warm-up is officially over. Sunlight filters through the clouds as they prepare for the mission. The group reaches the mouth of a massive, dark cave. Shieldebeest and Yubingkung are sweating bullets, but Kaiser is completely chill. They've been hunting non-stop on their way to this tomb. The extra grinding paid off, getting the whole squad up to level 9. But they're entering a place notorious for being a newbie slayer. Online forums are full of players venting about how impossible this raid is. Ard's tomb is the first major wall, and most rookies die on their first try. The difficulty spike here is insane compared to the trash mobs they fought outside. It's a dungeon that demands perfect teamwork and following specific patterns. This is the spot where most new parties end up getting wiped. Some people even suggest soloing it, just to avoid teammates who keep messing up. Yubingkung looks worried as she thinks about the stakes. Shieldebeest tells everyone they have to clear this if they want to move up to higher raids. Kaiser just watches, his face looking bored as usual. Just like in the real world, companies here prefer experienced workers over rookies. Big guilds won't even talk to you if you haven't cleared this specific boss. People try to lie about their records, but it's not easy to cheat the system. Cheap tactics don't work in this game because every action is tracked. Everything is recorded in the Book of Adventures. It logs your quests, your materials, and every boss kill you've ever achieved. That record is basically a player's resume. To get into the next city's parties, they need this clear on their record. They have no choice but to grit their teeth and push through. Kaiser knows the boss in the next city is actually mandatory to progress. He takes a step forward. They arrive at the habitat of the variant Goblin Warrior, a rare-grade boss. Kaiser turns back with a smirk and asks if they're ready to head in. Shieldebeest and the others have studied the strategy guides and are determined not to fail. The party gathers at the foot of the massive stone doors. Shieldebeest looks over at Kaiser one last time. He takes a deep breath and walks toward the gate. He touches the door, activating the raid entrance portal. A system prompt appears, asking the party to confirm they're ready to start. Aimforthead is hyped and ready for the fight. Everyone agrees to enter, Kaiser included. The system checks their levels and starts the entry sequence. Kaiser stretches and cracks his knuckles, ready for a warm-up. The heavy stone door slowly grown open, revealing the arena. The group steps inside, their boots echoing on the stone floor. Torches flare to life along the walls, lighting up the cavern. Waiting for them is the elite boss, sitting on 20,000 health. The variant Goblin Warrior lets out a low growl, gripping its massive cleaver. It unleashes a deafening roar that rattles the entire chamber. Shieldebeest and the others look on in horror, realizing just how dangerous an elite boss can be. Kaiser shouts a warning, sensing the attack before it even starts. The beast leaps into the air, coming down like a ton of bricks with its blade raised high. Shieldebius knows that even with Kaiser's help, the party has to stand on its own feet. He realizes Kaiser can't protect everyone at the same time. The tank steps forward, determined to fulfill his role and hold the line. The boss charges forward with a terrifying howl. Shieldebius commands the team to scatter and stay out of the monster's path. They dive for cover just as the goblin slams into the ground. Shieldebius identifies the charge as the first part of its attack pattern. He braces his shield and catches the monster's follow-up strike, the force vibrating through his arms. The goblin is stunned for a few seconds after its attack is blocked. Shieldebius calls out to the group, telling them that now is their chance to strike. Aimforthhead and Yubinkung immediately launch their counter-offensive. Spells and steel collide with the boss, creating a massive explosion of light and sound. The smoke clears to reveal the monster recovering, its eyes glowing with rage. Shieldebius is taken aback by how quickly the beast is getting back on its feet. The goblin warrior winds up for another devastating swing. Shieldebius catches the massive blade on his shield once again. His protection trait activates, glowing brightly as it buffs his stats. He yells that he's got the boss's attention, urging the others to keep up the pressure. Before the tanker could even finish his sentence, Kaiser had already blurred past, unleashing a barrage of slashes upon the boss. More magical blasts fly toward the boss, hammering its defenses. A massive explosion rocks the monster, pushing its health lower and lower. Shieldebius thinks the first phase is going perfectly, and that they have the fight under control. But his teammates from behind suddenly shouted a warning that the next pattern was coming sooner than expected. The boss's health bar drops below half, triggering a move that wasn't in any of the guides. Shieldebius freezes up as the monster prepares a move he wasn't ready for. Kaiser doesn't hesitate, launching himself at the boss with incredible speed. He strikes with a flurry of blows, his movements almost too fast to follow. The monster screams in pain as Kaiser's blade finds its mark. Shieldebius looks on, completely stunned by the sheer skill Kaiser is displaying. Kaiser continues his relentless assault, not giving the boss a single second to breathe. With a dark smirk and glowing eyes, he declares that the monster's pattern is officially over. Cut to the past in his old game. Kaiser's group had long established a legendary reputation as the strongest party on the server. During an interview, a reporter asks him to share the secret behind his team's success in clearing impossible dungeons. Kaiser keeps it simple. It's just about everyone focusing on what they do best. She points out that a standard party usually needs 4 roles: a tank, DPS, healer, and support. But since his party doesn't use a tank, she wonders if raiding like that is even possible. Kaiser admits that tanks are actually a crucial part of any team. They have to face the boss alone, interrupt its attack patterns, and soak up all the damage. The reporter is stunned when he tells her that he's the one who handles all of that himself. A confident smirk is his only response. Back in the present, the boss is absolutely losing its mind. Shieldebius watches in disbelief, unable to make sense of what he's seeing. Even dedicated tanks struggle to shut down boss patterns using their crowd control skill. But Kaiser is doing it effortlessly without using a single skill, and he's managing it all while playing as a pure DPS. The mutant goblin warrior lets out a massive roar. For Kaiser, patterns at this level aren't even a challenge. He strikes again, shutting down the monster's momentum. The rest of the group is speechless as he continues to target only the vital spots. Shieldebius keeps a close eye on the health bar. The boss's HP finally hits the 20% mark. He warns everyone to brace themselves because Phase 2 is starting. The team gets into position, ready for whatever comes next. A system alert flashes. The boss's mutant trait is finally manifesting. The ground cracks as the warrior's trait activates. The goblin goes into a full berserk state, boosting all its stats at once. Kaiser has been waiting for this part. Mutant traits are special abilities that vary from one boss to the next. This specific goblin has 2 such traits, known as 007 Bang. If the party lands 4 physical attacks in a row, everyone gets a debuff. And if 3 magic attacks land consecutively, the boss will reflect all damage. The boss lets out a piercing scream. Due to the berserk effect, the entire party's attack and movement speeds drop. The group panics, realized how much harder the fight just got. But Kaiser receives a unique notification. His hero trait is preventing mental contamination. He is completely immune to the boss's mutant and berserk effects. He grins, realizing those nasty debuffs don't apply to him at all. Shieldebius orders everyone to stop attacking and just focus on dodging for now. He assumes Kaiser is stuck too, but Kaiser just tells him to wait. He steps forward, eyes glowing with a dark intensity. Kaiser smiles, ready to end this whole raid himself. Shieldebius can only watch as the pressure mounts. With a sudden burst of speed, Kaiser leaps into the air to finish the job. The mutant warrior lets out one last, desperate roar as the fight reaches its peak. Kaiser meets the monster's fury head-on, landing a massive strike that lights up the cave. His eyes glow with a cold, red light as he prepares for the final blow. He tears through the boss with relentless efficiency, blood spraying across the cavern walls. Shieldbeast and Yubingkung are struggling to move, completely weighed down by the boss's status ailments. They watch in total shock, wondering how Kaiser is the only one standing tall and unaffected. Shieldbeast can only stare, the realization of the massive skill gap finally hitting him. Another blow connects, cutting deep into the boss's defense. In this moment, Kaiser truly looks like a god of battle. He continues the slaughter, moving in a blur that the monster can't even hope to track. The mutant goblin is completely overwhelmed, its health bar vanishing under the assault. Shieldbeast whispers his name, unable to look away from the display of power. The monster screams in agony as its end draws near. Kaiser doesn't show a flicker of emotion, staying perfectly focused on the kill. He swings his blade in a wide, lethal arc, slicing through everything in its path. Every movement is calculated for maximum lethality. He's not just fighting at this point, he's methodically dismantling his opponent. Blood splatters everywhere as he lands another critical hit. Kaiser finally stands still, the red aura around him pulsing with power. A stream of system notifications confirms his level has increased along with his sword proficiency. With his brutal and powerful slashes, Kaiser leaves the boss completely breathless. Faced with an overwhelming assault and not a single wasted movement, the massive monster can only stand frozen to the spot, paralyzed in pure terror. Giving the opponent no room to breathe, he executes a godlike blink from a distance. In the blink of an eye, Kaiser's silhouette is already closing in, right behind the boss's back. Kaiser slightly lowered his head, looking down. In that moment, his eyes suddenly flared with a murderous red glow, a sign that his final ultimate move had been activated. A massive pillar of light erupts brilliantly the moment his slash cleaves the Titan's body in two. The sheer power of the strike is so overwhelming that it swallows everything in its wake. As the light fades, the once fearsome boss is reduced to nothing but a heap of ruins, collapsing to the ground as its existence officially comes to an end. The system confirms the defeat and announces that the dungeon has been cleared. The rest of the party stands back in stunned silence, barely able to process what they just saw. They start talking amongst themselves, questioning who this guy really is. Shieldbeast wonders to himself if this could actually be the legendary ranker, the real Kaiser. Yubingkung and Brace Your Forehead can only stare with their mouths wide open. They take a moment to look around the empty cavern, still feeling the intensity of the fight. The boss's body lies motionless on the ground, a testament to the one-sided massacre. The final time limit rankings appear, showing Shieldbeast's party in first place by a huge margin. Kaiser calmly grips his sword, looking as if he's ready for the next fight. The contribution rewards are handed out, and of course, Kaiser takes the top spot. He starts collecting his loot, beginning with a rare leather top from the boss. He adds a pair of mutant goblin epaulets to his inventory as well. And to top it off, he acquires the boss's massive red greatsword. But the true reward is the Throne of the Time Attack title, granting him a permanent stat boost for his speed. Kaiser looks back at the scene with a satisfied smirk, commenting on the hunt. With a sinister glow in his eyes, he admits that goblins are best enjoyed when they're sliced to pieces. Kaiser sticks the landing, while the massive beast begins its final collapse behind him. It's over. The system confirms the boss is dead, and the dungeon has been cleared. They finished in 29 minutes and 58 seconds, snatching the top spot on the world rankings. The results are official. Kaiser took the top contribution, followed by Shieldbeast and the rest of the party. The loot starts dropping: rare red leather armor, epaulets, and a massive greatsword. To top it all off, Kaiser earns the legendary Throne of the Time Attack title. It's a hero-grade title that buffs his speed and all his stats every time he breaks a record. Kaiser stands over the corpse, looking pretty satisfied with how that went down. He admits it himself: goblins just look better when they're in pieces. The party takes a breather in the dark cave, still processing the absolute carry they just witnessed. The archer and the mage are left jaw-dropped as they see the extreme rarity of the rewards they've just received. The teammates are tripping over themselves to thank Kaiser for the massive win. Kaiser just brushes it off with a smile, acting like it was no big deal. He's already looking ahead to the next challenge. Shieldbeast pulls up the rankings, asking Kaiser if he wants to see his name at the very top. They're sitting at rank 1, nearly 6 minutes faster than the team in second place. Shieldbeast feels terrible, apologizing for not changing the party name to give Kaiser proper credit. Kaiser just scratches his head, realizing that having your name in the spotlight is a bit of a headache. An achievement like this is enough to get them noticed by the top 10 guilds in the game. Even for a beginner city, Holding first place is a massive statement of power. They've managed to rank even higher than the legendary player known as Annihilation. Shieldbeast and his team keep apologizing, feeling like they've stolen his glory. They offer him whatever he wants as compensation. Money, items, you name it. Kaiser just lets out a small, amused laugh at how seriously they're taking this. Shieldbeast looks up, surprised by the reaction. Kaiser tells them to relax, since the system registers the party leader's name automatically anyway. Besides, he didn't even expect to take the top spot this early. He's not a fan of the spotlight anyway. It's usually just more work than it's worth. But he's definitely not complaining about the rewards. He just secured the full warrior set, and the stats on these rare plus items are broken. These are the absolute best items available in this section of the game. With a haul like this, there's no way he could be in a bad mood. He starts cracking up, which just leaves Shieldbeast even more confused. He can't stop laughing at how lucky this run turned out to be. He tells the group again to drop it. They're all good. Shieldbeast is officially a fanboy now, swearing his full loyalty to Kaiser. He thinks Kaiser's personality is just as high level as his combat skills. A portal hums to life as the dungeon prepares to close. As they head out, Shieldbeast admits he used to think the Kaiser hype was over the top, but now he's a true believer. Kaiser looks back at the dungeon one last time, finally understanding what his new identity means. Shieldbeast calls out to him, wondering if he's planning to stay behind. Without a word, Kaiser steps through the portal and leaves the dungeon behind. The blue energy of the warp gate swirls around them as they transition back to the world. They arrive back at the city, its towers reaching up into a clear sky. The group heads straight for Ardback Alley to find a specific shop. The inside of the alchemist's shop is like a different world, packed with strange and magical items. Kaiser takes a look around, his sharp gaze settling on the figure at the counter. A man in a dark cloak stands behind the desk, his face hidden in the shadows. This is Calda the alchemist, and he doesn't seem happy to have visitors. The rest of the party is instantly creeped out, but Kaiser just sees an unpleasant man. Calda stares them down, asking if they've come here to give up on their mission. He starts complaining about how he needs research materials and how most people fail him. Kaiser doesn't say a word. He just slams a vial of dark red liquid onto the counter. Calda's eyes go wide. He can't believe he's looking at the blood of a mutant goblin. He starts yelling in shock because it hasn't even been 40 minutes since they left. The party stands tall, basking in the alchemist's total disbelief. Thanks to Kaiser's max affinity title, Calda goes from grumpy to absolutely obsessed with them. The system confirms the quest is complete, and the rewards start pouring in. Kaiser gets a nice chunk of gold and a custom silver ring crafted by the alchemist himself. The experience from the quest is so massive that Kaiser levels up twice in a row. He's officially cleared Trial 0 and is now allowed to travel to the main continent. As a bonus for his high rank, he even receives a low-grade skill draw ticket. Since he hit level 10, he also snags a random skill draw ticket to test his luck. The rest of the party is losing it, cheering about finally getting to leave the starter area. But there's a hidden reward. Kaiser receives a personal postcard from Calda. It's a rare plus item, a simple postcard written in the alchemist's own handwriting. Kaiser figures he can check the postcard later. He has more important things to do. He pulls up the menu to use his skill draw ticket, the moment he's been waiting for. A set of glowing cards appears before him, floating in a sea of blue light. He stares at the shimmering deck, his heart racing just a little bit. It doesn't have the same presence as the rewards from the Pantheon, but it'll do. He activates his Eye of Truth to see through the cards and pick the best one. He knows a low-grade ticket won't have anything legendary, so he keeps his expectations low. He pulls Charging Slash, a common grade skill that lets him dash forward while attacking. It's a solid, reliable skill he used back in the day, but his eyes are on the second ticket. He prepares to use the random ticket, hopping for something that'll change the game. A sudden system warning snaps him out of his excitement. He looks at the screen in total disbelief. The system is forcing a logout because he's been playing for 10 hours straight. The draw window is already starting to close as the connection cuts. With only 2 seconds left, Kaiser is desperately trying to finish the draw. The countdown hits its final second, the glowing cards swirling in a blinding vortex of light. Kang Do-yeon lunges forward with a panicked shout, his hand reaching desperately to make the final selection. But the screen suddenly whites out as the system forces a shutdown, cutting his connection just as the draw completes. The gacha cards are spinning like crazy while the countdown hits 2 seconds. Kaiser is desperately trying to lock in a skill before the system boots him out. He's sweating bullets, just yelling for the thing to hurry up. Just as the clock hits 1, a bright golden glow starts to leak from the cards. This looks promising. He's screaming at the screen to give it to him, but the system doesn't care. Time's up, and he's getting a forceful disconnect. The world dissolves into a blinding white light as he's pulled out of the game. Everything goes dark back in his room, leaving only the faint hum of his high-tech gaming capsule. Kang Do-yeon pops the lid and stares into space, looking like he just saw a ghost. He starts gasping for air, clutching his chest like he just ran a marathon. Then he just lets out a massive scream of pure frustration. Getting kicked right at the climax of a pull is every gamer's nightmare. It's a beautiful sunny day outside, but inside that apartment, a gamer's soul is in agony. Do-yeon's sitting there, shaking his legs like crazy. He cannot wait to get back in. He watches the clock hit 10:00. It's finally time. He bites his thumb with a crazy look in his eyes. He's gotta see what he got. Without wasting a second, he dives back into the capsule. The system scans his eyes and verifies his ID, starting the sync process immediately. The loading screen pops up, welcoming him back to the world of God of Savior. A little message tells him to have a pleasant journey, like he's here for a vacation. He spawns right back in Ard's back alley where he left off. Kaiser doesn't even pause to look around. He just sprints down the alley. He's obsessing over that yellow light he saw right before the disconnect. Usually, that means top-tier loot. He checks his inventory and finds one unconfirmed skill card sitting in storage. This is it. He's hopping for something legendary, but he tries to keep his expectations low so he doesn't get hurt. He taps the card, and it bursts into a brilliant display of light. It's the heroic skill, Backstab. It's technically for assassins, and the description says it lets you teleport behind an enemy for massive damage. Kaiser stares at the name in shock. Backstab, really? This is the signature move for assassins. The one skill every ranged player absolutely hates. It closes the gap instantly, making distance completely irrelevant for anyone trying to run away. A sinister smile creeps onto his face. He's a warrior, but he just scored one of the best mobility skills in the game. He starts laughing to himself, realizing he can now tear through both monsters and players without any trouble. Just as he's having his moment, a random couple walks by. The guy is bragging about how much he knows the game. The guy stops mid-sentence, looking totally confused. He looks over and sees some dude standing in the alley, laughing like a villain from a B-movie. Kaiser is so lost in his own excitement, he doesn't even notice how creepy he looks, steam practically coming off him. The couple is absolutely terrified. They're convinced they just ran into a total psycho. They don't even finish their conversation. They just turn around and book it the other way. Kaiser finally snaps out of it, wondering why everyone is suddenly so allergic to that alleyway. He shrugs it off. It's time to stop looking like a newbie and put on his actual gear. He pulls out the loot from the variant Goblin Warrior. The red leather top, the pauldrons, the red greatsword, and Calda's silver ring. He figures with this set, people might actually think twice before trying to mess with him. He suits up, and man, he looks dangerous. The red armor and that massive sword on his shoulder definitely send a message. A system prompt warns him that once he leaves for the main continent of Raven, there's no coming back to Ard. Kaiser doesn't hesitate. He walks straight into the massive blue portal as the final countdown begins. Kaiser stares ahead, feeling a bit of regret for leaving without a proper goodbye. He thinks back to the party he left behind, realizing he'd actually started to like those guys. The portal countdown hits 2, and he accepts that if they're meant to meet again, the game will make it happen. 1 second left. The system confirms he's being transferred to the main continent. A massive pillar of blue light erupts, shooting him straight out of the beginner zone. He lands in a grand city plaza, the kind of place where every player arrives with big dreams and high expectations. Nearby players chat about how this is the real starting point, where everyone gathers to find a party. The sprawling city of Raven stretches out before him, marking the true beginning of his journey. Suddenly, a group of knights on horseback charges through the streets, telling everyone to get out of the way. Guards drag a tied-up criminal through the plaza while he screams for them to let go. Kaiser watches as a bunch of new systems unlock, including the arena, duels, and workshops. The silhouette of the massive city looms over him, a place where beginner perks are a thing of the past. A system tip pops up, advising victims of crimes to report directly to the city guards. He's genuinely impressed, realizing the main continent is on a whole different level. A merchant shouts out to him, offering some local ash beer and complimenting his sharp red outfit. Other vendors are hawking exotic foods like lobster and hot guinea pig soup, promising freebies to any customers. Kaiser starts to see why people get distracted by city life and forget all about hunting. He gives himself a quick slap to stay focused, telling himself he can enjoy the sights later. With his sword on his shoulder and a confident grin, he wonders where he should start his first hunt. It doesn't take long for him to find action, slicing through a goblin with a single fluid motion. He moves out to the Raven Plains, already surrounded by a fresh pack of monsters. His red armor begins to glow as the three-piece set effect kicks in, granting him a massive advantage against goblins. The monsters are instantly paralyzed with fear, their morale tanking the moment they see him. Kaiser launches himself into the air, activating his leaping slash skill to clear the area. He carves right through the center of the pack, the system confirming multiple kills in seconds. He lands perfectly in the tall grass, already looking for the next target. With glowing red eyes and blood on his blade, he looks more like a predator than a player. His red greatsword actually starts gaining attack power with every enemy he puts down. He can't help but laugh, completely intoxicated by the sheer power of his new gear. Between his base stats and the scaling weapon, he's becoming an absolute monster out here. He's having the time of his life, basking in the feeling of being completely untouchable. He pulls up his quest log, nodding that he's just a few more kills away from another level up. His eyes suddenly glow gold as he senses something shifting in the air behind him. A purple ghostly figure lunges out of the shadows. Kaiser instantly realizes this isn't a monster, it's a person. This is Assassination Boy, a masked player who preys on wealthy-looking newbies, and he thinks he's found a gold mine. The assassin draws his daggers, deciding it's time to move in for the kill. He lunges forward, mockingly telling Kaiser that he's going to enjoy this meal. Metal clashes against metal, as the assassin's blade is stopped dead by Kaiser's heavy sword. Assassination Boy's eyes widen, as he realizes his sneak attack didn't even make a dent. Kaiser just stands there, a dark aura radiating from his body as he stares the attacker down. Realizing he's in trouble, the assassin tries to leap back and regain some distance. From the bushes, his partner screams at him to quit stalling and just take the target down already. An archer from the PK group leaps into the air, firing a volley of 3 glowing blue arrows down at Kaiser. Kaiser doesn't even break his stride, effortlessly shredding the magical arrows with a single, powerful arc of his red greatsword. Another member of the group charges in from the side, screaming at the top of his lungs as he raises a heavy axe to strike. Kaiser blocks the blow with ease, his eyes burning with a cold, predatory light as the axe grinds against his blade. With an effortless shove, he sends the axe wielder stumbling back, completely overwhelming him with raw physical power. He adjusts his grip on the hilt of his massive sword, his movements calm and calculated despite the chaos. In one swift, brutal motion, Kaiser slices through the warrior, leaving a trail of blood in the air as the man is cut down. The rest of the ambushers freeze in their tracks, their faces pale with terror as they realize they are no longer the hunters. Assassination Boy begins to back away, trembling as he wonders how a newbie could possibly possess such overwhelming strength. A system notification pops up, marking him as a target. He tries to flee, but Kaiser is already moving, appearing before him like a ghost in a blur of motion. Kaiser towers over the panicked assassin, his silhouette casting a long, dark shadow that seems to swallow the light. With a terrifying, wide-eyed grin, Kaiser looks down at his prey and mockingly asks if he's lost. No matter where you go, there are always people who just won't listen. It's not about official arena duels, it's about unauthorized slaughter. In other words, peekers. They existed back in Temrock, and it's no different in this game. The reasons vary: fun, loot, or just pure frustration. But 9 out of 10 players will tell you the worst are the noob slayers. They prey on people fresh out of the beginner village, killing them and taking everything. Just like the guy standing right in front of Kaiser. Kaiser just smiles and asks if he's lost his way. Assassination Boy freezes. His tracking mark just vanished into thin air. He can't figure out how a swordsman is using an assassin-only skill like backstab. Before he can process it, Kaiser drops him in one clean hit. The rest of the crew follows shortly after. Kaiser stands over the bodies while the system clears him of any crime. He realizes Ard was just a fluke because of the beginner perks. Those guys he met back there were actually unusually decent. But the rest of this world is just crawling with bastards. He ignores the mess and goes to grab his quest rewards. The levels start piling up as he cashes in his work. He officially hits level 17, and the massive west gate finally opens up. Kaiser stands at the threshold, ready to move on. This is Raven West Forest. It's a hunting ground so dangerous that even the NPCs warn you to stay away. Unlike the open plains at the East Gate, this place is a nightmare. The forest is dense, and visibility is basically non-existent. It's swarming with goblins and massive insects. Ambush attacks come from every blind spot between the trees. The difficulty spike here is absolutely absurd. Naturally, an unspoken rule took hold for anyone coming here. You have to form a party of at least 3 people. The area in front of the West Gate is packed with people looking for groups. Tanks and DPS are shouting at the top of their lungs to find someone. Most parties are stuck waiting for a single healer. They're rare because they're a pain to level and not exactly fun to play. A couple of guys notice Kaiser walking toward the gate alone. They assume he's just another poor fool walking into his own funeral. Even the top rankers don't dare go into the West Forest without a full team. They watch him walk off, wondering who he thinks he is. Kaiser doesn't care about their rules and just keeps moving. He vanishes into the dark, suffocating woods. A forest red goblin jumps out and gets taken down instantly. Kaiser isn't wasting any time, tearing through the goblins like they're nothing. Another one tries to ambush him from the branches, but he's already moving. He brings the heavy blade down with enough force to crack the earth. A goblin lunges, and Kaiser just takes to the air. He delivers a powerful kick to the goblin, the impact erupting in a brilliant burst of red energy that lights up the entire forest. He sticks the landing, while the shockwave finishes off the stragglers. One goblin gets pinned to the ground, coughs up blood, and it's game over. Kaiser swings his sword in a wide arc, sending out a wave of destructive power. Suddenly, he spots 3 projectiles heading straight for his head. He doesn't even flinch, spinning his blade to deflect them with a circular shield of energy. The goblin archer watching from the shadows can't believe its eyes. Kaiser looks back with a cold, red glow in his eyes. He's done playing around. He tosses the massive sword into the air, using the momentum for a follow-up strike. The blade bites deep into a goblin, sending blood spraying everywhere. He catches the hilt mid-swing and prepares for the next round. A system message pops up. The warrior set effect has just worn off. The remaining goblins see their chance and swarm him from all sides. Kaiser doesn't look worried. He swaps to a new weapon handle, calling them trash. Thanks to his weapon master trait, all weapon restrictions are officially lifted. He activates backstab, but this time he's wielding a heavy axe. He buries the blade deep into a goblin's skull, ending the fight instantly. The system confirms he just used the basic axe skill, smash. He starts spinning like a whirlwind, carving through anything that gets close. Goblins are getting split wide open as the forest floor turns red. He stands over a pile of corpses as the kill notifications flood his screen. His axe proficiency clicks up to level 2 after that massacre. Kaiser checks his quest list. The goblins are done, but he still needs to find a pendant. He suddenly feels a massive vibration under his feet and looks back. An enormous centipede erupts from the ground right behind him. The monster towers over him, dripping purple slime and looking hungry. Even with all his experience, Kaiser can't help but let out a curse. Deep in the forest, the birds suddenly scatter as something massive stirs below. Kaiser leaps into the air, facing down a giant forest centipede that's towering over the trees. The beast doesn't waste a second, lunging straight at him with its massive mandible. Kaiser lets out a shout, focusing every ounce of his power into his next move. He swings his massive blade with everything he's got, aiming to end this quickly. His eyes flare red as he locks onto the perfect opening in the monster's armor. The centipede screeches, sensing the lethal pressure coming its way. Kaiser spins in a deadly arc, his blade carving through the air with terrifying speed. The strike connects right in the beast's face, crushing its hard carapace. The impact creates a massive shockwave, slamming the monster's head into the dirt. He sticks the landing, but he's already braced for the monster's next move. The beast isn't finished. It lets out another shriek and prepares to lunge again. Kaiser remains calm, staring down the monstrosity with cold, calculated focus. He catches the monster's attack right on his blade, sparks flying from the sheer friction. The sheer weight of the centipede is enough to crush a normal player, but Kaiser holds his ground. A surge of energy crackles around his hands as he pulls a new weapon from his inventory. He mocks the creature's ugly face before delivering a brutal, decapitating swing. Blood sprays everywhere as the centipede's head is completely torn from its body. He doesn't stop there, bringing his sword down one more time to finish the job. The warrior carves through the rest of the armored body with effortless precision. The massive insect finally goes still, as its remains collapse into a heap. The system rewards his effort, bumping his swordsmanship proficiency up to level 10. Kaiser takes a breath as the level-up notification finally pops up. Dust settles around the mangled carcass of what used to be a terrifying area boss. He checks his stats, level 19 with titles like King of Time Attack already in the bag. The adventurer starts allocating his points to make sure he stays ahead of the curve. Things are going well, and he's already cleared most of the quests in this zone. He pulls up his menu to see what's left on his to-do list. There's a simple quest to find a lost pendant for a girl named Camilla. It's not exactly a challenge, so he shears his blade and heads out to finish it. He makes his way through the forest as night falls, heading toward the quest marker. Up ahead, he hears some other players getting into a row over who was there first. He spots the tree where the quest item is supposed to be and watches from the shadows. At least the line isn't too long at this hour, which saves him some time. Kaiser blends into the crowd, keeping a low profile while he listens to the local chatter. A few players are talking about an execution order being put out on griefers. They're laughing about an assassin brat who got what he deserved for acting up. Apparently, the guy was going around claiming his name was Kaiser. He's stunned. He didn't expect his name to be brought up like this already. The players dismiss the rumors, thinking it's just some fanboy trying to look cool. They find it hilarious that a swordsman would supposedly use backstabbing skill. Kaiser decides it's best to lay low for a while until the heat dies down. Kaiser knows that a swordsman with assassin skills and 6 traits is a walking target. The top guilds will either try to recruit him or just cut him down before he gets too strong, especially since most of the top-ranked players are from Temrock and they don't like competition. If they can't control a player like him, they'll do everything they can to destroy him. He manages to snag the lost pendant, checking it off his quest list. He needs to finish this errand for Camilla quickly while he's still under the radar. He heads back to the city of Raven, keeping a low profile as he enters the gates. Camilla is ecstatic to see him, especially when he returns the jewelry she thought was lost. The quest clears, giving him a nice gold coin and some experience points for his trouble. That boost is exactly what he needed to hit level 20 and earn a random skill draw ticket. Camilla is so grateful that she decides to give him her most treasured item. It's a random gift box that could contain just about anything from her collection of oddities. He gives her a reassuring head pat and tells her to be more careful with her things. His kindness pays off, as a special title activates and maxes out his affinity with her. He heads off, nodding that being nice to NPCs is clearly the way to go in this game. With that quest done, Kaiser looks for something a bit more challenging to tackle. A rare dungeon subjugation quest near the west gate catches his eye. The rewards include another skill draw ticket, so there's no way he's skipping out on this. He considers hitting the ant nest, but the Goblin Chief's den seems like a better bet. The Goblin Dungeon has the gear he needs, but the catch is that it requires a party. He's hesitant to team up because he doesn't want to show off his unique skills just yet. He arrives at the entrance of the Goblin Chief's den, which is already packed with players. Recruitment is in full swing, with everyone shouting for high-level fire mages to join them. Merchants and blacksmiths are also on site, hoping to profit off the raiding parties. Kaiser is surprised to see so many production-type players gathered in such a dangerous spot. A high-level warrior named Bastard Sword rudely rejects a thief who's just looking for a group. He tells the guy to go away, claiming their party doesn't have room for a useless class. Bastard Sword and his crew eventually manage to convince a mage girl to join their ranks. Kaiser watches from a distance, realizing that magic damage is the only thing people care about here. In this specific dungeon, mages are treated like gods because of the way the boss fights. He starts to worry that a lone swordsman like him won't be able to find a group at all. Suddenly, Bastard Sword notices him standing nearby and calls out to him. He offers Kaiser a spot in the party, which is weird considering they already have a full crew. Bastard Sword claims their levels are high enough that his class won't be a problem for the quest. Kaiser immediately senses that something is fishy and wonders if he should play along. He decides to accept the invitation for now, figuring he can handle whatever they throw at him. The system confirms the formation of the Bastard Sword party with 4 members. He takes a good look at his new teammates, sensing a very hostile vibe coming from them. The group's faces are twisted into sinister grins as they prepare to head inside. Kaiser realizes this was no random invite. They definitely know who he is. Outside the dungeon, players are whispering about a high-geared warrior who just arrived. A full warrior set and a greatsword? That's definitely him. A group of 3 players watches Kaiser from the side, their leader, Bastard Sword, looking especially interested. Bastard Sword grins, his eyes already fixed on Kaiser's rare equipment. Kaiser stops when he hears someone calling out to him from behind. Bastard Sword approaches with a friendly smile and asks if he's looking for a party. He mentions their levels are higher, but they're just on a quest, so Kaiser is more than welcome to join. Kaiser acts grateful and accepts the invitation. The party is officially formed, and the group prepares to head in. They arrive at the entrance to the Goblin Chieftain's habitat. A system notification explains the dungeon's rare rank and entry requirements. Inside, Bastard Sword takes out a Goblin Scout with a single, effortless slash. He scoffs, calling the whole thing a piece of cake. Kaiser watches quietly, analyzing their power and teamwork. The system warns them that the chieftain is sending out his soldier. A horde of goblins swarm out from the dark, screeches echoing through the cave. Bastard Sword steps back and suggests Kaiser take the lead this time. The mage girl, ultimate top 10 archmage no cap, tells him it's just a chance to see how he syncs with the team. Kaiser knows exactly what they're doing. They're testing his real skill. He decides to play along for a bit and draws his heavy blade. He charges straight into the goblin ranks. Kaiser triggers charging slash, cleaving through the front line in a spray of blood. Bastard Sword watches with a smug look. "Yeah, we found the right one." Shieldebeest agrees, impressed by the damage Kaiser is dealing. Kaiser moves with incredible speed, avoiding every counterattack. Bastard Sword rubs his chin, feeling like something is a bit off about the warrior's skill. Shieldebeest asks him what's bothering him. Kaiser finishes another goblin with a powerful downward swing. Bastard Sword recalls a rumor about an elite assassin who lost to a rookie who supposedly relied only on gear. The mage girl tells him to stop overthinking and just focus on the plan. Bastard Sword agrees. They'll finish the job and then deal with him. Shieldebeest signals the group to move deeper into the tunnels. He warns the others to keep their expressions in check and act natural. Kaiser continues to tear through the goblin ranks with ease. The swordsman rushed over with fake praise, acting as if he were completely overwhelmed by the performance. The mage girl joins in, saying Kaiser could have cleared the whole dungeon alone. Kaiser just smiles and says everyone is doing their part. Shieldebeest asks how Bastard Sword managed to find someone this good. Kaiser's expression turns cold. He sees right through their shameless behavior and bad manners. He realizes they're just waiting for a chance to abandon him and take his gear. Bastard Sword suggests they keep moving now that they've rested. Kaiser stares back, his eyes sharp. He knows exactly what they're up to, and he's not going down easily. Kaiser continues to slice through the goblins with cold efficiency. Shieldebeest tries to keep up, bashing a monster back with his massive shield. A sudden burst of magic detonates right next to Kaiser, but he ducks just in time. Bastard Sword snaps at his mage, telling her to aim properly. She stammers that she did, but the goblin moved. The three high-level players watch Kaiser with growing unease, wondering if he's really just that lucky. Little do they know, Kaiser has already figured out they're trying to accidentally hit him from behind. A system alert rings out. The boss stage has officially opened as the giant stone doors creak apart. The atmosphere shifts as the goblin chieftain detects the intruders entering his domain. Elite soldiers swarm the entrance, their stats flashing in a red warning box. A massive goblin elite leaps from the darkness with a bone-chilling roar. Bastard Sword sees his chance and orders Kaiser to handle the elites, while the rest of them move in. But Kaiser doesn't follow orders. He just disappears into the shadows, leaving them stunned. Bastard Sword spins around, looking for any sign of the rookie he thought he was leading. Reality sets in as they realize Kaiser caught on to their plan. The mage girl points ahead and screams for them to look. Bastard Sword's face pales as the elite goblins close in on them instead. One of the monsters lunges at the party, forcing them into a desperate defense. Shieldebeest takes a heavy blow, the impact shaking him to his core as the goblin roars in his face. Bastard Sword yells for his mage to finish the creature off quickly, while he tries to hold the line. The archmage fumbles with her staff, her eyes wide with terror as she starts to chant. A massive flaming boulder begins to form above her, the heat distorting the air in the cramped tunnel. She unleashes the spell, a chaotic explosion of fire and earth that rocks the cave. The smoke clears, and the mage's face is frozen in pure horror. A massive red foot slams onto the ground with enough force to crack the stone. The goblin chieftain stands before them, his eyes glowing with murderous intent as steam hisses from his mouth. The system displays the boss's traits: cowardice, selfish defense, and revenge. The tanker tried to salvage the situation, shouting that they would draw the boss's aggro first. He suddenly stops, noticing Kaiser walking calmly through the chaos. The mage girl screams in a mix of rage and fear, demanding to know how Kaiser is even here. Kaiser emerges from the shadows, his massive blade resting casually on his shoulder. He looks them dead in the eye and asks if they were friends with Assassin Boy, the guy who tried to hunt him before. With the goblins closing in, the mage tried to play nice, suggesting they set aside their grudges to clear the dungeon together. Kaiser stops and thinks for a second, then agrees that working together sounds like a reasonable idea. The mage girl starts to relax, thinking she's managed to trick him one last time. But before she can even blink, blood sprays across the cave walls. Kaiser leans in with a terrifying, red-eyed grin and delivers his final answer. "But I refuse." Kaiser calmly walks toward the group. The mage girl, ultimate top 10 archmage no cap, stammers in disbelief, wondering how he's still alive. He ignores her shock and asks about the assassin kid they were with earlier. Kaiser's eyes glow with a cold red light as he asks if they were all friends. Yiwen tries to stall, suggesting they should focus on clearing the dungeon together before settling their differences. Kaiser tilts his head, admitting that logic actually makes some sense. Relieved, the mage girl agrees, thinking they have a deal. A sudden strike sends blood spraying across the cavern. Kaiser towers over them with a dark grin, deciding he just doesn't want to cooperate. The system confirms the kill. Since she was flagged as a villain, Kaiser doesn't lose any karma for ending her. He expected as much, They were never planning to play fair. He used the back grab skill to hide his presence and strike from the shadows. He looks back at the body, surprised the skill worked even on someone already dead. Yiwen is in a panic, screaming that killing their mage just doomed them all. Kaiser ignores the yelling and asks if the guy knows his motto. Yiwen can only stare in confusion. The rule is simple. Never join hands with scum who try to stab you in the back. Anything built on a foundation like that is bound to rot eventually. Yiwen's eyes widen as he recognizes the dagger Kaiser is holding. Kaiser is impressed. He realized it was his friend's weapon so quickly. Yiwen can't understand how a swordsman is using an assassin's weapon, or what he thinks he can do with it. He warns Kaiser that he'll never clear the dungeon alone if he kills them. He points out the Goblin Chieftain's special defense trait. The boss completely blocks all physical attacks. Yiwen laughs, saying mages are the only ones who matter here, and a dagger is useless. Kaiser just calmly mentions status ailments. He spins the blade, asking what the guy thinks those count as. Yiwen thinks he's lost it if he's planning to rely on something like bleeding. Kaiser clarifies that this isn't going to be your typical bleeding effect. The antagonist is left speechless. Kaiser blurs into motion, moving past his target in a flash. The system alerts highlight an overwhelming stat difference between them. Yiwen starts to say it won't work, but then he suddenly coughs up blood. The bleeding status triggers, and the damage is massive because Kaiser's perception is so much higher. His health bar plummets instantly, dropping below 50%. Yiwen is reeling, unable to comprehend how a level 20 player is overpowering him at level 24. He desperately tries to make sense of the power gap. Kaiser looks down at him, knowing the guy is completely lost. He explains that the skill came from a high-level gacha ticket. The rare skill card for bleeding shows it's restricted to rogues and depends heavily on stat differences. Kaiser admits he was actually surprised by one specific feature of this game. Unlike other worlds, status ailments here actually stack up even if they're from the same class. Kaiser reflects on the shock people feel when they see someone using high-level rogue skills with such precision. Yiwen is coughing up blood, unable to believe the insane damage output coming from a lower-level player. With his last bit of strength, he accuses Kaiser of being a hacker. The system confirms the kill, officially removing the player Bastard Sword from the game. Since the group was flagged as villains, Kaiser's karma stat doesn't take a hit for the kill. He just sighs, bored by the predictable excuses every loser makes before they die. The paladin screams in horror as he watches his leader go down. The realization hits him that he's the only one left standing in this nightmare. He looks at the corpses of his teammates, wondering how their plan to jump Kaiser went so horribly wrong. Kaiser's eyes flare with a murderous red light. The mistake wasn't the plan, it was thinking they could handle him. The paladin finally understands that they never should have started this fight in the first place. He turns to run, desperate to escape before he becomes the next casualty. But Kaiser moves faster, swinging his blade in a wide, bloody arc. The paladin is driven to his knees, immediately suffering from the bleeding effect. The system notes the massive damage increase caused by the overwhelming difference in their stats. He's hanging by a thread, staring at the floor in absolute shock. Another notification pops up. The player buying Oop Paladin has been eliminated. The dungeon floor is now a graveyard for the villains who tried to betray him. Kaiser checks his blade, satisfied that investing 15 points into strength was the right move. His stat window shows he's pushed his physical power to the limit, hopping it's enough for what's coming. A massive red-skinned monster looms in the shadows, watching him. The ground is littered with the bodies of its fallen subordinates. The Goblin Chieftain lets out an earth-shaking roar, enraged by the slaughter of its kind. Kaiser looks up, unfazed by the beast's fury. He realizes he still needs to finish the job and clear out the last guy here. A dark smirk plays on his lips as he asks if the boss is ready to have some fun. The giant beast lunges through the air, aiming to crush him. Kaiser plants his foot and readies his counterattack. He lands a crushing kick right to the chieftain's jaw. The force of the blow sends teeth and blood flying into the air. He follows up with a lightning-fast slash across the monster's face. The massive red brute is sent tumbling backward into the dirt. Kaiser stands his ground, eyes narrowed and focused on his prey. Through the thick dust, the chieftain's eyes begin to glow with a menacing yellow light. The boss activates its selfish defense, a trait that makes it almost impossible to hurt with physical attacks. Kaiser doesn't hesitate, charging back in with even more speed. He carves a deep line into the monster's side before it can even swing back. The bleeding effect triggers instantly, and the chieftain's health starts to drain rapidly. The beast looks back in shock, realizing it's actually in danger. Kaiser emerges from the smoke, shrouded in a red, murderous aura. He grips his dagger tight, telling the monster it's time to wrap things up. The chieftain lets out a high-pitched, desperate shriek as the end approaches. Seeing its health plummet, The goblin chieftain turns tail and sprints desperately into the darkness of the cave. Kaiser doesn't let up for a second, instantly activating the skill back grab to seal the monster's fate. The chieftain lets out a series of pained gasps, paralyzed by fear as it realizes there's no way out. In a blur of motion, Kaiser is right in the beast's face, staring it down with a cold, ruthless smile that promises a swift end. "Where do you think you're going?" The chieftain is panicking, trying to crawl away. Kaiser's done playing around. He pulls out a dagger and says it's time to wrap this up. The monster lets out a desperate screech. It tries to bolt deeper into the dark cavern, but Kaiser is faster. He triggers his back grab skill. One last scream from the beast. Kaiser vanishes and reappears right behind it in a flash. He asks again where it thinks it's going, flashing a cold smile. The boss gives one final, terrified shriek. Blood sprays across the cavern walls. The chieftain collapses. The system pings, boss defeated and dungeon cleared. Kaiser levels up and his dagger mastery hits level 5. A rare item drops, the chieftain's leather belt. He picks it up and smiles. A level 20 rare item is exactly what he was looking for. He checks the stats. Swapping belts drops his stamina for a second, but the new gear gives him a solid boost to his strength and stamina. He thinks that if there had been a time limit, he could have easily taken a ranker spot. Still, not every dungeon has those kinds of rules. He turns his attention to the loot left behind by the guys he just took out. He scores a rare shield called Silver Iron, a rare grade. These guys must have spent a fortune on their equipment. Then he finds the training sword that belonged to the guy calling himself Bastard Sword. It's a rare plus grade. He looks at the sword, finding the name pretty ironic. He figures the guy was just a hardcore role player who couldn't actually live up to his big talk. He decides he'll just sell the rest of the gear for some quick cash. Kaiser activates his Eye of Truth and notices something strange. There's a weird red light pulsing from deeper in the cave. He wonders if it's an herb or something hidden. The light is way too intense for a normal plant. The system goes off. He just discovered a hidden dungeon, the Black Goblin Shaman's hideout. Since he's the first one to find it, he earns the title Competent Explorer. He stares at the glowing red portal, surprised to find a hidden dungeon in a place like this. There are all sorts of different dungeons in this game world, from standard party dungeons and labyrinths to special event zones. But hidden dungeons are by far the rarest and hardest to find. They stay locked away from most players. Even classes specialized in exploring have a hard time spotting them. They're usually in impossible locations and require very specific conditions to enter. The system confirms he's alone and not in a party. All conditions are met. Kaiser is shocked by how brutal the requirements are. To find a hidden dungeon inside a party-type dungeon, you have to be completely solo. Finding this place without a guide would have been a waste of time for anyone else. The dungeon info window pops up. It's a hero-grade hidden dungeon with a single boss. Kaiser pulls his sword with a smirk. Hero grade? He's definitely not passing this up. A veteran ranker once compared entering a hidden dungeon to shoving your head into the jaws of a beast. Most users thought he was being overdramatic, but those who actually found one knew exactly what he meant. The comparison is simple. What happens when you stick your head in a monster's mouth? It snaps shut. A hidden dungeon is just like that. It waits silently for its prey to arrive before trapping them inside. Once you step in, there's no turning back. Kaiser steps through the portal and instantly feels the weight of the dungeon. A dark vortex of energy swirls around him as he enters. A cursed orb hits him dead center, inflicting a status effect called Dark Vision. The system warns him that his field of view will be narrowed for a while, but Kaiser's hero trait kicks in, providing mental resistance against the corruption. He shrugs off the Dark Vision effect like it was nothing. Kaiser smirks, nodding the fierce greeting he just received. A raspy voice echoes through the cave, demanding to know how a human dared enter its home. The floor begins to crawl with undead creatures, all eyes fixed on the intruder. Undead goblins shamble forward, growling through rotted teeth. Undead spiders join the swarm, their many eyes glowing with purple light. Kaiser looks at the decaying monsters and just finds them gross. The boss watches from its throne, assuming its children have Kaiser terrified. The system identifies the boss as Jihad Black, a hero grade named Goblin with traits in necromancy and shamanism. Kaiser is surprised to see a named boss so early in a hidden dungeon. He wonders what kind of rewards this one will drop. The last high-tier species he fought gave him a pretty good haul. He flashes a confident grin, curious about how tough the fight will be this time. Jihad Black stares at him, confused about how a human even discovered this place. The shaman doesn't sense an explorer's aura on Kaiser, making him a truly peculiar being. Kaiser notes that for a goblin, the boss is surprisingly sharp. The shaman tells him that since he's already stepped foot in here, there's no way out. The undead swarm hisses and shrieks, ready to tear him apart. Kaiser remains completely relaxed, which only irritates the boss more. He tells the shaman that a ranged fighter should always stay alert when the enemy is close. The boss is caught off guard by Kaiser's sudden movement. Jihad activates corpse control, his speed boosted by his nimble fingers trait. He triggers corpse explosion, turning his own minions into bombs. The shaman laughs, thinking he's caught the human in the blast, but his expression shifts to pure shock when Kaiser emerges unscathed. He can't understand how someone could move that fast. Kaiser stands several feet away, surrounded by a red aura. He's holding a blood-slicked dagger, having already landed a hit. The shaman is stunned to find he's already been inflicted with bleeding. Kaiser asks if he's surprised, reminding the boss that he should have stayed tense. Enraged, the shaman calls him a little rat and summons more corpses. Kaiser just wants to see how long the goblin can keep up the fight. Kaiser dodges a massive purple blast, his eyes focused on his opponent's frantic movements. Jihad Black continues his desperate casting, purple energy swirling violently around his hands. The cave floor erupts in a series of explosions, but Kaiser navigates the chaos with practiced ease. Kaiser's eyes glow with an intense light, reading every minute movement the boss makes. He can see it all. To Jihad Black, this human is just another soul to be consumed, yet he can't seem to land a hit. The boss thinks his undead minions have cornered the boy, but Kaiser is just waiting for the perfect opening. This is the end. The shaman screams, his face twisted in a murderous, confident grin. The system chimes as the boss prepares a truly devastating attack. Great corpse explosion. The resulting blast is massive, filling the cavern with purple light, yet Kaiser is already out of range. Desperate, Jihad Black swings his arms, trying to catch the elusive intruder in his necrotic spells. Kaiser weaves through the chaotic mess of energy beams with the grace of a seasoned veteran. He realizes he can predict exactly where the next strike will land and what the boss plans next. The shaman pours even more mana into his spells, determined to finish this insolent human. The purple haze of necrotic energy thickens, threatening to swallow Kaiser whole as the corpses close in. "It's over," Jihad yells, certain that his latest combined spell has finally trapped his prey. A system notification confirms the boss is using his corpse substitution art to trigger another explosion. The dungeon shakes from the force of the blast as the shaman detonates his own minions at point-blank range. Jihad Black gloats, thinking Kaiser is dead, but a system message reveals his mark on the target has vanished. A shadow looms behind the shaman, causing his celebratory grin to falter as he realizes he's no longer alone. Kaiser's voice whispers right in his ear, mocking his failure. "Did your skill miss?" Before the boss can even turn around, Kaiser's fist connects solidly with his jaw in a powerful punch. The force of the blow sends the goblin shaman tumbling backward across the jagged stone floor. Jihad Black wheezes, green ichor dripping from his mouth as he struggles to comprehend the human's speed. Kaiser stands over his fallen foe, his expression one of cold, bored indifference. A dark, fiery aura begins to radiate from Kaiser, making him look more like a monster than the boss. The shaman managed to sputter out a threat of revenge, his green eyes wide with terror. Kaiser doesn't give him a chance to recover, delivering a brutal punch that silences the boss's whining. He follows up with another strike to the face, determined to end this mockery of a fight quickly. A flurry of blows rains down on the boss, each one landing with sickening force. W8, Jihad Black screams, begging for a reprieve as Kaiser pauses, his hands stained with green blood. The boss whines about foul play, clutching his face and crying that hitting his bones is against the rules. Kaiser stares down at the pathetic, sniveling creature, wondering what kind of boss he's actually fighting. He looks genuinely disappointed, questioning how such a weakling could be considered hero grade. A sudden explosion erupts behind Kaiser, but he remains calm, analyzing the shaman's true strength. He realizes that while the spells are strong, the boss himself is remarkably fragile and cowardly. The boss leaps backward, as if it had just successfully pulled off a massive scam on our protagonist. Looking back, Kaiser found this move completely baffling. Has he not given it enough of a beatdown yet? Or is this thing really delusional enough to think it can still escape his grasp? Jihad Black begins to laugh hysterically, hidden within a shroud of dark smoke. Foolish human. A system alert warns Kaiser that the boss is manifesting a new hidden trait, bloodline factor. The notification explains that once the manifestation is complete, the shaman's status will drastically increase. Kaiser's eyes narrow as he realizes the threat level is about to jump from hero to hero plus grade. Knowing he can't let the boss reach its full potential, Kaiser draws the massive sword from his back. I can't just leave him be. Kaiser charges forward like a crimson streak, his speed and power amplified by his resolve to end the fight quickly. System notifications flood his vision, confirming that his warrior set bonus is active, and providing a significant damage boost against goblin-type enemies like Jihad Black. With his massive blade raised high, Kaiser prepares to deliver a finishing blow, his mind focused on a single, fundamental truth about combat. The impact of his strike is cataclysmic, causing a blinding explosion of energy as an additional damage bonus from his fury effect is applied to the boss. Jihad Black stares in disbelief, as his transformation is interrupted by sheer, raw power, unable to comprehend how a human could possess such overwhelming strength. Kaiser's eyes burn with an unyielding red light as he delivers his final judgment. In the face of truly overwhelming damage, all enemies are equal. A final strike cuts through the darkness. Jihad Black lets out one last scream before he's completely obliterated. The system confirms the dungeon clear. Kang Do-yun, Kaiser, stands victorious as the achievement is logged in his adventure book. A pillar of light signals a level up along with the loot drop. He scores a hero-grade Vengeful Spirit Orb from the Shaman. Next up is the Shaman's Robe, another hero-grade item that hides the user's face. Kaiser checks out the new cloak, impressed by the high-tier rewards. It's a bit of an odd piece of gear, but he's not complaining. Then things get weird with an unidentified item called Trace of a Forgotten Clan. He's seen stuff like this before in his past life, but its purpose is still a mystery. He shrugs it off for now. Something else caught his eye. It's an unidentified card. In this game, cards are used for everything from skills to enchanting. Even powerful boss monsters get turned into cards once they're defeated. Kaiser takes a closer look at his newest acquisition. It's the Jihad Black card, a hero-grade item that lets him summon the boss as a guardian. A guardian, this could be big. Guardians are basically personal bodyguards for players. Usually, it's things like fire salamanders or stone golems. Kaiser isn't exactly jumping for joy, yet since most of them are useless. Unless you're a top-tier ranker with legendary beasts, they usually just drain your gold. Still, he taps Summon to see what he's working with. Bolts of energy crackle, and a tiny, pathetic-looking goblin pops out. This is the hero grade, Jihad Black. His loyalty is sitting at a big fat 0. Most of his skills are locked too, because his level is so low. The little guy isn't happy about the situation either, immediately yelling at Kaiser. Kaiser stares down at the shrimp, wondering if he got ripped off. He was expecting something majestic like a Pegasus. Not this. Jihad is already throwing a tantrum about being a filthy human's servant. He just stays on the ground, crying about his miserable fate. Kaiser reads over the traits: opportunist, strong against the weak. It's basically a list of red flags. The system warning pops up. His loyalty is so low it's dangerous. The goblin gives him a wicked look, clearly plotting a backstab already. Kaiser's eye twitches. This is going to be a problem. He decides right then and there that he can't let this slide. He takes a step toward the cowering goblin. Jihad tries to act tough, demanding to know what the human wants. That was the wrong choice of words. Master Kaiser isn't feeling very patient. He looms over the little guy, his gaze turning ice cold. The goblin realizes he just messed up big time. Kaiser cracks his knuckles with a terrifying grin. It's time for some aggressive re-education, starting with 1 hit per second. Jihad Black starts sweating buckets as things take a dark turn. Kaiser cracks his knuckles with a terrifying grin. It's time for some aggressive re-education. The little goblin screams in terror as the master closes in. A chorus of painful shrieks echoes through the deep, dark cave. Strange system messages pop up. The more Kaiser beats him, the more his loyalty actually goes up. Talk about a weird trait. Outside the game, the sun is setting over the city. Do-yun takes off his headset and stretches out, finally ending a long session. He stretched his arms and looked out the window, noticing that it was already getting dark. He steps into the living room and checks on the dinner situation. His younger sister, Kang Ji-yoon, is already busy lounging and munching on chips. Ji-yoon just keeps chewing, telling him their mom isn't around right now. Do-yun stares at her, a bit annoyed by her lazy energy. He asks what she's even watching on TV. Turns out it's GOS. Do-yun is shocked to find out his sister actually plays the same game. She says everybody plays it these days, and reveals she's already level 71. Do-yun can't believe it. 71? She's higher level than he expected. He asks her how long she's been grinding to get that far. Ji-yoon tells him it's been about 6 months. A friend offered to carry her, so she just stuck with it. 6 months to hit 70. Do-yun starts doing some mental math. She adds that she doesn't spend 10 hours a day on it like some losers. Do-yun just stares at her, feeling a little called out. The news on TV switches to a story about the Hero Guild. Ji-yoon perks up immediately. Do-yun asks if they're actually a big deal. She explains they're incredibly popular right now, especially with people their age. He's not convinced, nodding they haven't even cracked the top 10 rankings. The screen shows the guild leader, Vers, a guy with long blue hair and shining gold armor. Ji-yoon admits it's mostly because he's a total hunk. Apparently, the girls prefer a pretty face over actual combat rankings. Do-yeon scoffs, thinking the guy looks more like a pop star than a warrior. Ji-yoon gushes about how handsome he is, putting him on a whole different level. Do-yeon just rolls his eyes as she continues to fawn over the screen. He gets up, deciding it's time to hit the gym instead of listening to this. But Ji-yoon mentions how popular the guild leader's new tube channel is. Do-yeon stops in his tracks. She says all the big players are making videos now, sometimes pulling in 100 million views. Do-yeon's heart practically skips a beat. That's a massive audience. He asks her if that means he's making a fortune. Ji-yoon says she heard he makes around 1 billion won a year. 1 billion won. Do-yeon's brain immediately starts counting how many pieces of fried chicken that would buy him. He starts muttering the number to himself as he walks away. Ji-yoon watches him, wondering what's suddenly gotten into her brother. He just keeps repeating it, completely lost in his own world. He goes straight to his room and slams the door. Ji-yoon is left alone, weirded out by his behavior. Inside, Do-yeon hops back into the game capsule and initiates the login sequence. Back in the world of GOS, Kaiser decides he's going to start recording everything. If people are making billions, he's getting a slice of that pie. Jihad Black is waiting right there as Kaiser steps back into the dungeon. Kaiser notices the little guy is skipping the formalities already. The goblin quickly tries to correct himself, but Kaiser tells him to just use whatever name feels comfortable. Kaiser pulls out some spare gear and tosses it over to his new servant. He explains that he can't use it yet anyway, and the goblin might as well look the part. Jihad is overjoyed at the gift, but strangely enough, his loyalty stat actually takes a small dip. Kaiser is immediately annoyed. Why is the loyalty going down for a gift? The goblin gushes with thanks, and just as fast as it dropped, the loyalty points shoot right back up. Kaiser sighs, realizing this little guy's loyalty is about as stable as a rubber band. Now wearing a dark hooded cloak, Jihad asks where their next destination is. Kaiser gives a confident smirk, telling him they're about to do some serious running. Jihad looks a bit confused, not quite sure what his master has in mind. The pair starts tearing through the forest, leaving a trail of broken monsters in their wake. System messages confirm they've taken down a red goblin and a giant spider with ease. Jihad looks down at the carnage, pretending to feel sorry for the poor things they just slaughtered. Kaiser rests his massive, bloodied sword on his shoulder and calls the goblin over. He gestures for the little guy to hurry it up. It's time for a different kind of lesson. Seeing the master's command, the little guy came scurrying over and presented himself immediately. Kaiser sits back on a log and tells Jihad to gather the loot and try out some necromancy on the bodies. Jihad gets right to work, tossing aside the monster's weapons. He stands over the fresh corpse of a goblin, ready to see if he can bring it back. He begins a strange, rhythmic chant as dark purple energy starts to swirl around the clearing. The dead goblin's eyes ignite with a sinister purple glow as it's forced back into a semblance of life. Kaiser watches with genuine surprise. The little guy actually pulled it off. Jihad proudly presents his small squad of 3 undead goblins, though he admits he's hit his limit for now. Kaiser is impressed. Having a small army for grunt work is going to be incredibly useful. The undead thralls let out a series of screeching cries, waiting for their next command. Suddenly, the 3 undead goblins sprint off into the dark forest. Kaiser is left wondering where they're going. He asks his guardian what exactly he told them to do. Jihad gives a cheeky grin, explaining he just ordered them to go pick up all the loot for them. Kaiser is half annoyed and half impressed. The goblin is already delegating his chores. He starts wondering how much longer it'll take to grind his way to the next level. He needs bigger targets. Jihad perks up at the mention of elite mobs, saying he knows exactly where they like to hang out. Kaiser stops in his tracks. He didn't expect the goblin to have that kind of intel. The goblin explains that those elite guys are lazy and just stay gathered in one specific spot all day. A terrifyingly wide grin spreads across Kaiser's face. A whole group of elites just sitting there waiting to be farmed? That's music to his ears. It's time to find these elites and give them a very warm, violent welcome. Kaiser kicks back on a log, wondering how the heck he's gonna grind out those next 2 levels. Jihad Black pipes up, telling his master he knows exactly where a bunch of elite mobs are hiding out. Kaiser looks over, a bit surprised the little guy is actually being useful for once. Apparently, these monsters just sit around in a group all day doing absolutely nothing. Grouped up elite mobs, Kaiser's eyes light up. That's the exact jackpot he was looking for. The 2 of them head deep into the woods to track down the camp. Sure enough, there's a whole pack of them just chilling around a bonfire. They stake out the place from the bushes, with Jihad making sure this is the target his master wanted. Kaiser just grins. This is even better than he expected. Just as he's eyeing them down, a new quest notification pops up for the Trial of the Warriors. The rewards are solid. 100 gold, a nice chunk of EXP, and an intermediate skill draw ticket. Kaiser is all in. He's not leaving until that skill ticket is in his inventory. One of the goblins is just trying to enjoy his lunch when he realizes something's wrong. Kaiser doesn't give them a chance to react and lunges straight into the middle of the camp. He gives them a quick "hey there" with a smirk right before the carnage begins. A goblin roars and swings his sword, but Kaiser is already 2 steps ahead. He easily leaps over the strike, making the monster's best effort look slow. He hits the ground running, already picking out the next target to take down. The monster barely has time to look shocked before a boot comes flying at his head. A massive kick connects right with his jaw. Blood and teeth go flying as the impact sends the goblin reeling backward. The rest of the pack tries to swarm him, but Kaiser is just getting started. He pulls out a dagger, electricity crackling along the blade as he primes a skill. Using Vital Thrust, he zips through the crowd, leaving a trail of slashes behind him. One guy takes the hit so hard, he's immediately slapped with a bleeding status effect. Kaiser keeps the momentum going, slicing through another pair of monsters as they fall. That's when one of the bigger warriors charges in, screaming his head off. He swings a massive blade down, but Kaiser parries it perfectly with just his dagger. Sparks fly from the impact as he stops the heavy blow dead in its tracks. The monster is stunned that a human could actually match his raw strength. Kaiser follows up with a crushing strike that slams the warrior into the dirt. The goblin hacks up blood, realizing he's completely outmatched. Kaiser decides it's time to stop playing around and reaches for the massive sword on his back. He draws the heavy blade, ready to put an end to the hunt. The warrior lets out one last desperate roar as the shadow of the sword falls over him. Kaiser's eyes glow with a dark intensity as he focuses all his power into the final swing. A massive vertical slash rips through the air, painting the scene in red. The monster is finished before it can even make a sound. Kaiser stands alone in the center of the carnage, his sword planted firmly in the ground. Jihad Black watches from the bushes, completely terrified by the display of power. He realizes right then and there that the guy he's serving is definitely not human. To the little guardian, Kaiser isn't just a master, he's a straight-up devil. Kaiser plants his sword in the ground, finally done with the warm-up mobs. He figures it's about time the real challenge showed up. Right on cue, a massive blue goblin charges in with a roar, wielding a giant axe. The system confirms he's encountered the hidden field boss, Kara. The quest Trial of the Warriors immediately chains into the Trial of the Great Warrior. Kaiser just grins. He's not seeing a boss, he's seeing a walking loot bag. Karuk slams his axe down, shattering the earth where Kaiser was standing just a second ago. But Kaiser is already miles away, having dodged the blow with ease. The two of them face off, the boss readying another massive swing. Jihad Black is panicking in the background, sure that his master is about to get crushed. Karuk's axe begins to glow with an icy aura, threatening to shatter anything it hits. The system announces that Karuk is activating his ruthless strike. The boss roars as he brings the glowing axe down with everything he's got. The air itself seems to scream under the pressure of the attack. Karuk is putting all his weight into this one blow to end the fight. Jihad can barely watch, convinced that this is way too much for Kaiser to handle. Kaiser just stands there, eyes glowing as he prepares his counter. He's got that confident smirk on his face. He knows exactly what he's doing. The blue giant is certain he's got the kill. He lets out one last roar as the axe inches closer to Kaiser's head. Kaiser tightens his grip on the hilt, timing his move to the millisecond. The two weapons collide in a massive explosion of blue sparks. Kaiser deflects the blow perfectly, matching the boss's overwhelming power. Jihad can't believe what he's seeing. His master is actually holding back a boss-level ultimate. Kaiser doesn't just block, he redirects the entire force of the attack. With a successful parry, he sends the boss's momentum flying. The system explains that this skill can neutralize even legendary attacks if the timing is right. It's a technique known to surpass the normal tier of guard skills. In the right hands, it's an overpowered way to shut down any opponent. But because it's so hard to pull off, almost nobody even tries to use it in practice. Kaiser's just glad such a useful skill came out of a low-tier gacha draw. Now that ruthless strike has been parried, Karuk is left wide open. The shockwave from the deflection blows everything back in a blinding light. Now it's Kaiser's turn to go on the offensive. Karuk finally looks terrified as he realizes his best move just failed. Kaiser mockingly asks if his skills are on cooldown now. The boss lets out a desperate cry as Kaiser prepares the finishing blow. Jihad is left trembling, finally realizing that the person he's serving is a straight-up monster. Karuk goes for the kill with his big, ruthless strike move. The ground practically explodes from the impact, but he missed. Kaiser's already in the air, coming down for the finish. The boss looks up and realizes he's in big trouble. Kaiser just grins. He was just waiting for Karuk to burn that skill. One final roar as the pressure settles in. The companion is just watching from a distance, looking completely spooked. One heavy slash through the neck, and the fight is finally over. Karuk hits the dirt, and the system confirms the trial is complete. Now for the good stuff. 200 gold, massive EXP, and a couple of skill draw tickets. 2 intermediate draw tickets. Kaiser's looking like he just won the lottery. He's literally jumping for joy in the middle of the dark forest. His companion is just hiding behind a tree, judging him hard. Seriously, how can a guy look like a total demon 1 second and an idiot the next? Kaiser's too busy psyching himself up for the draw to care. He doesn't waste any time and hits the use button. The gacha cards start flying everywhere in a flash of light. Pull number 1 is Ascending Dragon Kick, a rare martial arts skill for his legs. Then he pulls Striking. It's a rare buffer skill, which is a bit weird for his class. A buffer skill, he wasn't expecting that one to drop. But wait, it's actually insane. He gets a massive attack buff with 0 downtime. It basically turns his normal blade into a heavy-hitting greatsword. He's trying to hide his excitement, but this is a solo player's dream. A DPS that can buff himself. Everything is falling into place, but he's not done yet. He still has Karuk's leather gear to check out. It's a full set of hero-grade items, including a ring and shoulder pads. Finally, he can ditch that basic goblin set he's been wearing this whole time. No hesitation, he equips the whole thing at once. Not gonna lie, the new fit looks pretty clean. Plus, the set bonuses give him a huge boost to stats and reign. He starts posing, asking the companion if the new look suits him. The little guy just stares. To him, his master is getting scarier by the minute. Kaiser notices the look and turns around with a smirk. "Even I'm scared of how far I'm gonna go," he says, acting all cool. He's really leaning into that main character energy right now. The companion just thinks he's a total lunatic. Suddenly, a notification pops up saying the companion's loyalty just dropped. Kaiser stops. "Wait, were you just insulting me in your head?" The little guy panics and starts waving his hands in denial. Kaiser pulls out his sword with a terrifying look. "Step out of line and you're dead." That does the trick. Loyalty immediately goes back up as the companion bows down. Kaiser just sighs. It's hard work keeping the help in line. Kaiser decides it's time to move. He's got his new gear and skills, so it's time to put them to work. The little companion trots behind him, asking where his master is heading. The answer is simple. They're going boss hunting. The companion is all for it. Since Kaiser already flattened a great warrior, he figures a few more bosses shouldn't be a problem. But then he realizes just how serious Kaiser is about this next hunt. The system makes it clear. To reach the next city, he has to pass the continent's trial first. And that trial is no joke. He needs to hit level 24 and take down the infamous spider queen Eliza. They reach the western forest, and the place is covered in giant, sticky cobwebs. There's already a crowd of players there, checking their watches and waiting for the boss to spawn. Everyone's trying to guess where she'll pop up this time, based on where she appeared in the past. Kaiser looks around at the environment, searching for any kind of clue. He walks through the crowd like he owns the place, keeping his head down to avoid attention. He asks his companion if he knows the specific spawn locations for the queen, but the little guy comes up empty. Apparently this boss is from a next generation that he isn't familiar with. Kaiser just sighs. So much for his companion knowing every inch of the forest. The companion looks a bit sheepish about let down his master. Kaiser stares at the massive trees, wondering where the queen is really hiding. He's got a plan to rush in the second she shows her face. Suddenly, his Slayer trait kicks in, and the system reveals exactly where Eliza is hiding. Kaiser's stunned. He wasn't even expecting the trait to trigger in this situation. He notes that he doesn't even have a Slayer title specifically for spiders yet. Then it hits him. The trait doesn't just apply to bosses he's killed before. It works on all asterisk of them. He flashes back to the bosses he's already crushed. This trait is a literal cheat code for finding hidden targets. He brushes off the surprise. Why overthink a good thing? A sinister grin spreads across his face. This means he can monopolize the boss before anyone else even knows it's there. While the other players are standing around confused, Kaiser makes his move. He finds a hidden cave entrance where a haunting voice is crying out a name over and over. He steps inside, and the system confirms he's finally encountered Spider Queen Eliza. He can't believe it. The plan actually worked out perfectly. The companion is absolutely floored. He has no idea how Kaiser found this hidden spot so fast. Kaiser just tells him to relax and enjoy the easy gains. Then they see her in the darkness. This thing is absolutely massive. Eliza isn't just a big bug. She's an elite field boss with deadly poison and spider sensors. The spider lets out a screech, calling out her own name into the cave. Kaiser's expression shifts. It's time to get to work. The queen strikes with her massive legs, but she's way too slow for him. Kaiser triggers his back grab skill, ready to get behind her. He vanishes and reappears right in her blind spot. The spider realizes too late that her enemy has moved behind her. Kaiser charges up his new skill, a massive golden dragon spiraling around him. He lets loose with an ascending dragon kick, getting a nice damage boost from his gear. The impact is brutal. The spider cries out in pain as the hit connects. Kaiser's eyes glow with a fierce, golden light as the energy of his attack surges around him. He isn't just playing a game anymore. He's here to dominate, and he's just getting started. Kaiser opens up the engagement with a clean backstab. The Spider Queen is caught completely off guard by the sudden strike. She lets out a pained shriek as the hit connects. Kaiser doesn't let up, channeling a massive surge of golden energy into his next move. He slams an ascending dragon kick right into the boss's face. The spider cries out her own name as the extra damage from the set bonus kicks in. Kaiser keeps his focus, looking for the next opening in her defense. He lands heavily, the force of his descent cracking the cavern floor. Without a second's rest, he's back on the move, dashing across the dark chamber. Eliza looks stunned, barely able to keep up with his speed. Kaiser unleashes a flurry of rapid-fire slashes that light up the cave. He skids to a halt, already preparing his next skill. He lunges forward again, closing the distance in a heartbeat. Kaiser activates the striking buff, and his attack power spikes. Shrouded in orange energy, he charges back into the fray. Eliza stares back with wide, glowing eyes as Kaiser triggers another ascending dragon kick. A golden dragon erupts from the strike, dwarfing the massive boss. The blow lands square on her head, sending shockwaves through the room. Eliza shrieks in agony as green fluid sprays from her mandibles. Kaiser follows through, slamming her down with overwhelming force. From the shadows, the companion watches the absolute beatdown, calling Kaiser a straight-up devil. Eliza lies broken on the floor while Kaiser stands over her, cold and indifferent. The Spider Queen keeps sobbing her own name, her eyes welling with tears. Kaiser doesn't care about the name. He's just focused on the kill. He smirks, clenching his fist as he prepares to finish the job. Eliza just keeps crying out, "Lisa," over and over again. The companion watches Kaiser continue the assault, looking more conflicted by the second. Seeing the boss being bullied like this makes the little spirit feel a pang of pity. Kaiser doesn't stop, raining down a barrage of hits on the defenseless spider. But then that name, Eliza, starts to sound incredibly familiar to the spirit. Suddenly it all clicks, and the companion's eyes go wide with shock. Kaiser stops mid-swing, wondering what the hell is going on. The companion rushes out from the shadows, begging Kaiser to hold on and stop. Kaiser is just confused, asking why he's interfering now. The spirit runs straight to the spider, calling out her name with tears in his eyes. Eliza slowly opens her eyes, focusing on the small creature before her. He begs her to recognize him, his voice trembling with emotion. Tears well up in the Spider Queen's eyes as she realizes who it is. The scene shifts back 150 years, to a time when a hooded man was wandering through the forest. He stops in his tracks when he hears a tiny sound coming from a nearby leaf. He finds a tiny red spider sitting there, looking right back at him. He picks her up, fascinated by the rare little creature he stumbled upon. Cassiar asks the tiny spider if she wants to come along with him. She chirps back her name, sounding incredibly happy, Lisa. He thinks the name, Lisa, sounds pretty good as they settle into his cabin. But after some thought, he suggests Eliza instead, thinking her original name is a bit too plain. The little spider isn't having it, chirping her name again and again to protest. He laughs, telling her she's just going to have to get used to being called Eliza. Eventually, he just gives in, though he's still set on his version of the name. One day, Cassiar grabs his cloak and tells her he has to head out on a solo mission. Lisa looks up at him with those big eyes, clearly wanting to follow. He tells her no, explaining that the path ahead is far too dangerous for her to come along. He gives her a final smile and promises he'll be back before she knows it. Lisa watches from the table as he walks out the door, never to be seen again. The days turned into weeks, but her master never returned. The sun and moon traded places over and over, yet the door stayed shut. Sunlight slowly gave way to thick dust and cobwebs as the seasons bled into each other. 1 year became 10, and 10 became 100. Yet Eliza kept waiting. Finally, when even the wooden walls of the cabin grew weary of the wait, the silence was broken. Eliza headed back to the western forest, returning to the very spot where she first met her master. She spent decades there, constantly repeating the name he gave her so she'd never forget him. Back in the present, the companion is absolutely heartbroken, sobbing over the dying Spider Queen. Kaiser looks at him, asking point-blank if he was the one who abandoned her. The little spirit is too overwhelmed with grief to even form a response. He just keeps wailing her name while Kaiser watches with a calm, cold expression. Kaiser presses him, wondering why he stayed hidden for 150 years instead of coming back. The companion looks down, admitting that the truth is currently beyond his power to say. Kaiser stares at him, clearly not satisfied with such a vague answer. The spirit just offers a quiet apology to his new master. Kaiser sighs, looking back at the Spider Queen as he considers his options. He's in a tough spot. It's a graduation quest, and he has to kill her to move forward. The spirit stays close to her, but Eliza seems to be trying to communicate something final. Suddenly, the spirit flinches, his eyes widening in complete shock. Eliza lets out one last, pained cry for her master, her eyes filled with sorrow. The companion screams out no, as if he can't bear the request he just heard. Kaiser asks what's wrong and what the spider is actually saying to him. The companion turns back, his eyes glowing with a haunting green light, and says she wants Kaiser to stab her.